Yoshida.
This is Fern Halls.
And you are listening to Aetheryte Radio.
Aetheryte Radio.
Here we go.
All right, hello and welcome to Aetheryte Radio.
I forgot about the fish.
Oh, so Nidra brought a festive fish.
It's been so long since we've done D&D. I have forgotten about the fish.
Yeah.
Yep. He's lost an eye somewhere along the way.
Oh no.
Oh,
No.
I think this is. We'll blame that on the cat for sure.
Sure.
That seems like a cat thing.
I'm
Is
gonna
that
blame
what
it
you
on-
call a fish with no eyes?
Yeah.
Is that what that is?
All right, so welcome to Aetheryte Radio. The fish threw me off
Distraction.
completely.
Yeah.
That's my goal at the start
Yes.
of every episode is
Oh,
to do
no.
or say something that makes Fusion go, "What the hell?"
My
It's
brain
good.
just
I like it.
forget everything. Aetheryte Radio Gamers gives Final Fantasy 14 podcast of Fugex. Joining me today, we've got Zanidra, Albino, Rook, and joining us today, we have the curator of the Eorzean
Curator.
Aquarium, Fruity Snacks. Welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me on to talk
Uh,
about fish for
Fish.
an indeterminate amount of time.
Right.
Yes,
I
today's
hope everyone's
podcast
schedule
will
is
be
clear. We
it'll
have
be 8
7
hours.
hours. Oh, 8 hours. We
Yeah.
found
Yes,
something to
yeah.
add an extra hour onto it. Awesome. I thought we were only
Yes.
doing 7 hours of fish talk.
Don't
But,
tempt me with a good time, because we can fill 8 hours of fish.
I actually, you know what? I'm going to be honest here. I'm really excited that you joined today, Fruity, because you are single-handedly responsible for making me care about fishing in Final Fantasy 14. And maybe a month ago, I could not say that I could fill 8 hours with fish talk. But now, especially with you here, I actually think we might be able to.
Fishlore.
There is so much about fishing behind just the mechanics, why people decide to put themselves through fishing and like dealing with the fishing log, the aquarium, and then there's Fishlore, which is honestly something that I just started, pun intended, diving into. And
Hold on.
It's
Yeah.
Do you spell it Lore or Lure? Double pun.
And that's going to do it for this episode of
No.
Aetheryte Radio. Thanks, everybody.
that was it's like, don't start me off with one of those because my brain was just kind of like, huh? Oh.
We're really tipping the scales into fish pun territory today. So
Yep.
I think if we were really going to do it's not an 8-hour episode, just in case anyone's like, oh shit, I better get some popcorn. No, we're good. It's all right. But man, I almost like want to like do like a scene here now on OBS. It's like all of us just like our heads on like a fishing boat, just chilling for 8 hours, get some beers or something, you know.
Yeah.
So much. It really is deep. Like, no pun intended. Like fishing is weirdly deep, and I hope to get at least some of that across.
Yes. Please. I think this is going to be fun. I always love because I do not interact with crafting or gathering, and I really need to change that, and I know. But I always love bringing people on who have that passion, because I think it's going to catch one of these days. I'm going to get hooked.
pun intended.
Catch,
Yeah.
hook, line, and sinker.
Oh, no.
my god, it's gonna be one of those shows.
I'm here for it.
Yeah.
So yes, we will be talking a lot about fish today. Before we get into that, though, we do have some news. There is going to be some changes to PvP rewards. This is actually really cool. There's a post op that says, "Thank you for your feedback regarding season rewards for Crystalline Conflict. After careful consideration, we have decided to change how season rewards are distributed, allowing players to receive portraits, achievements, and titles for all tiers and ranks up to and including their final standings at the end of the season." So that's super awesome. So
Yeah.
basically what this means is, as an example, I got gold for the first season of Crystalline Conflict. So if I, at the beginning of the next season or whatever, the end, when you're able to like get your little portrait kit,
Mhm.
I would get gold, silver, and bronze titles, portraits, etc. So that's really cool. It's not one of these things where it's like, I just want like the bronze thing, and so you just do bronze, or I want, the silver tier, so all you do is play to silver to get
Mhm.
just that, right? So now you can go up as high as you want, and you'll get everything below that, which is really cool.
yay!
they say. So
It just shows that they're looking at it, you know. They're
yeah.
listening and they're fixing it.
Yeah. So I think those will come into effect in 6.2. So keep an eye out for that.
I was surprised to hear this because that's how they've done all the other rewards. Like for the Firmament, it was if you got Saint, you also got Beata. I just assumed that was the case.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Same.
it seems like some of it was because of the precedent of the feast. From my understanding, feast rewards worked very much like this. And a lot of people were equating it to like, well, if you're in the Olympics and you win a gold medal, they don't give you a silver and a bronze. And I was like, yeah, but this is not the Olympics. This is a cosmetic border for something. I mean, I was really bummed to hear because I put in hours to get up to Crystal and I was like, oh, I'm so excited. I got all the borders. And then when the season rewards turned over, I was like, oh, I mean, this one's shiny, I guess, but I kind of just thought I'd get everything else too.
Right.
So I'm really glad they changed this.
Yeah. There's also been a little bit of an update about the we have the official like live letter stuff out now from the last live letter.
The digest.
The digest. Talking about the changes for Dragoon and Astrologian.
What changes?
Yeah, what changes? Because they're not coming. So they talked. We mentioned this also during our live letter show. They have some extensive adjustments planned, but they're postponing them. And so when they publish the 6.2 patch notes, they plan on releasing explanations for job adjustments separately from the patch notes to clearly explain their intentions in their entirety. So, okay.
That'll be very interesting because we always think, how do they balance? You know, what is the ranking? Why do they do what they do? Because it is unknowable until they tell you. Sure. You know, and so that'll be interesting.
I think for me, I'm kind of weary about the way that they phrase it, so that so that we can explain our intentions. They've explained their intentions about a lot of stuff. That doesn't mean that we agree with them on certain things, right? We won't go down that rabbit hole today, but it's like, I'm like, how drastic are these going to be where they really need to be like, this is what we were thinking. Please don't hate us. Like,
I mean, it seems like, I don't know. This is so interesting. The wording of making extensive adjustments to a job on a fundamental level. And then they talk about comparing it and something else that I saw about almost like if we're going to release big things like this, we should release them like we did the Summoner rework at the launch of an expansion. And that made me go like, wait, hold on. What? Are they really going to completely fundamentally redesign these classes? In the case of Astrologian, it feels like I could see how that might create a more cohesive vision because we're kind of dealing with something that has been changed, patched, stabbed, band-aided. You know, like it's just like
their thinking has changed.
But Dragoon has been a really surprising
Dragoon's in
one.
a really good spot right now. Like, don't touch my boy. Like, what are you doing?
I'm just kind of waiting. Like with Astro, like as Rook is saying, it's like it's been changed all these times. And I'm like, did they do this for Summoner? Like, did they do a big explanation when they released Summoner? And kind of how that went? But I don't know. Like when I saw that, like, oh, Astro is going to be delayed until the next expansion for like the major changes, and I'm like, okay, do they just like summon stars now? Like what they're going to do? Like suddenly, like,
man.
But I'm not too surprised also at the same time because this pat with the expansion we got like the shield healers and the raw healer split, and Astro has always been both. And then they kind of just pushed it into another one, which to be honest, I'm not a huge healer, so I don't know which one it's in. I want to say it's in raw healing now.
Yeah, you're right.
But like I don't know if it fully fits that niche, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, like it's funny because even with you saying you don't play a lot of healers, you are correct in that assessment, I would say. Like, it performs incredibly well. It's very good. But, yes, you can definitely, at least in my opinion, still tell where those weird bumps were in how it used to be more of a flex playstyle, but then they didn't want to fully compromise, so then they gave it, like, a ton of just additional heal over time effect and then all this other stuff and then also a shield button that if you push this button and then it makes this put a shield and all this other kind of stuff. So you can definitely tell that I think they're working within the parameters of something that wasn't designed like that from the start, right?
A lot of astro abilities right now work very much like shields do, in that you have to know when stuff is happening because there's like a timer on that ability and it'll go off in 20 seconds, so you have to know when stuff is happening. Like I said,
It's a
shield
preemptive healer.
Yeah,
Kind of like the old
it's got
scholar.
a mix. Exactly, it has a mix, but there are definitely a whole lot of other things, a lot of parts of their kit that are preemptive, whereas white mage is just like, something happened, here heal is.
Yeah. It's still buck wild to me that these two classes, Astrologian, again, I think I understand. Dragoon is bizarre. I mean, even talking, we were talking on we were talking on Mog Talk a couple, like a couple weeks ago. And even there, everybody was like, I don't understand why they're changing Dragoon, because fundamentally Dragoon works exactly as it should and feels really good and probably is at its best right now. It's weird to me that, again, we don't have something announced, I guess, for Scholar, because while Scholar works well, we've talked a lot about on the podcast the fact that just like Summoner needed an identity rework, I really personally feel like Scholar needs an identity rework to really cohesively give it an independent sort of feel, flair, play style. Although it functions fine and can be used to great effect. Yeah, so it's strange to me that these two were the ones, but I mean, I have faith that there are probably reasons why they're doing this, and I guess we'll find out more soon.
I'm actually really scared. Normally I'm in the same, like, I have faith that Square Enix is gonna blah blah blah. But right now, for Astro, I'm kind of like, do you realize that you've totally neutered Astro of its identity, and maybe you should like give it back some semblance of old cards, she said selfishly.
I mean, that's what I would like to see.
Yeah, or like, are they going to just, take the cards away entirely? I don't trust them right now.
Oh, I hope. I mean, they can't because the weapon has the cards, right? But I mean, I agree with you. I really loved particularly Stormblood Astrologian. That's when I mained it, and I mean, I would still be maining it to this day if I had the same variety of playstyle choice. And I loved that buff sort of capability with it and that variety of ways that you could play. So it has felt very strange to me, although I know a lot of people that have fallen in love with it since they did a lot of changes. So I guess to each their own, but yeah, I hope they don't remove all of that, honestly, because to me, that is what makes that class so distinctive and makes it stand out.
I'm really scared.
I feel like the old, crusty, jaded mercenary at the back of the camp going, yeah, it's you next. As the summoner, yeah, it's you next.
Oh my God.
And you bring up Scholar, and I'm waiting for like patch 6.3 to just completely rework Scholar with no announcement whatsoever.
You know it. Arcanist is suffering.
I'm just wondering if they started doing it and then they started developing like new tech, and then they're like, oh, this would actually really work for like maybe Dragoon specifically. Like, maybe there's some new tech coming in like say the summoner actually start channeling like actual dragons.
I was gonna say, what are you gonna dragon?
Like when you like it's a battle train, summon like Nidhogg behind you or something.
See,
like
now
that.
I'm excited.
Look, only, and once again, I'll be that jaded person. Only if they're not actually a pet. You don't want them to actually be a pet.
Oh no.
Well, they have like the shadow thing on Reaper now, right?
Yeah,
we're dragon pet type fake.
They could also be in that regard. They might be trying to rework it away from Reaper.
Yeah.
Because like when I played a little bit of Dragoon and I love Reaper, but I could see where if you're looking at Reaper and looking at Dragoon, you almost could kind of see similarities. Like Dragoon channels Dragon, but a different way, and then Reaper channels the Void, but in a different way.
Right.
And they might be trying to be like, all right, we don't need two melee people who have long sticks as weapons who channel things. I guess.
Maybe. We'll just have to wait and see. I really, like we said, Dragoon is it's probably the best it's ever been right now. And they're like, so we're gonna like do an extensive rework. It's like, but what? Okay.
Not to keep dragging this on, but
sure,
Mr. Dragoon, do you recall what the last
Mr. Dragoon is my father.
Do you recall what the last changes to Dragoon were specifically?
One of the last ones that I remember.
They removed the tether animation. That's like the last thing that I remember.
Animation, and they also let you use it like by yourself, like even if you didn't have somebody tethered to you, which is great because as a melee, the idea of like having to click on somebody else and having them close to me like is stupid, and I hated it. I hated it so much. So
I loved it. It was my child safety leash.
Make a macro.
See,
Come on.
it always I have several macros on my hotbar that I swap out that'll target like the third or fourth person on the party list. It's such a pain. And it's always like I always get into a group with like the only other DPS is a ranged and they're never close enough. Like it was, I mean, they've increased the range on it since then, but yeah, that used to be such a pain.
Dragoon suddenly gets rescue. Pull him over.
Get here.
Hey.
All DPS just need to learn to be closer.
Hey, dragon healers in WoW, and you know this is new information because the alpha have a go to target, then take them with you to the place that you've selected. So it's
fun.
literally the baby leash. You jump to them and then you move them. Yeah,
Come with me if you
it's
want
pretty
to
interesting.
live. Just grab them and.
Oh, I want that.
I want that.
I just want that as like a general role trait for everybody now.
You like, I don't know, spawn dragon wings or something, and then just pick somebody up in your big, strong Dragoon arms and carry them against their will somewhere else.
It's like Icarus dive for Sage, except it just
Sounds like
you
a
jump forward, grab them, pull them back.
Yeah.
I might play Dragoon more often if they do
See,
that. All
but
right, I'm on board.
That also sounds like another thing where I would have to like click on somebody and like unfocus my DPS for a second and but also the idea of trolling somebody and pulling them off the edge with me.
Oh my god. Oh no.
I would not do that.
We go together.
Yeah. See, we all
Big
understand.
James.
We all get it.
Exactly.
So the question was asked because maybe we could figure out in what direction Dragoon is going, but I think from that stuff we probably can't.
I really don't know. And I think I'm like, I want to be cautiously optimistic, right? Because like, I mean, let's be honest. We do a podcast about this game. We like the game overall.
Yeah.
That's so sweet. I'm so proud of you.
But any time they're like, we're gonna release our explanations and list our intentions. The last time they had to like really go in depth about their intentions was the whole like Hrothgar Vera, and we won't get into that. But we know how that is. Even if after they explained it, we still disagree with it, right?
Yes.
So like, I'm like borderline. I'm like on the fence, but like slightly optimistic. We'll see. We'll have to wait and see.
I just hope that they learn that it's cool to remake them, but Summoner is in a state where it's like nice foundation, where's the rest of the house? So I hope that they put more of that complexity in when they do it.
Seeing what they've done with the PvP changes and just like the real hard focus on job identity, that's really cool stuff. We've talked about that before. And so, you know, anything that comes after that will obviously have, you know, be influenced partially by some of that. Yeah. So like, I'm excited to see what they're gonna do. Hopefully, like it won't change the job too much, but we're just gonna have to wait and see. We have no idea.
And we don't want to get off of Yoshi P's Wild Ride, so we're on it.
I mean, they've been spoiling Dragoon, right? So maybe they'll keep doing it. I mean, so the comparison here is they've always been listen. They've always been terrible to Monk.
Yeah.
So when they made that big change,
but Monk knows what it did.
It's okay. No, it doesn't. Monk is fine.
I'm kidding.
Monk is fine.
It's joke.
Anyway, it's joke. But yeah, that change to Monk was okay. It was all right. Some people like it, some people hate it, but they've always like tried to be real nice to Dragoon, at least recently. So maybe they'll be super nice to Dragoon if there's a big change.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to add to your optimism.
Yeah. I just, you know, like Dragoon, like, right, you know, ARR, it's like, what is this rotation? It's like 10,000 steps, right? And it's gotten smoother over time, right? Especially with the changes in Endwalker and being able to kind of just keep the combo going. Like it is really smooth right now and it feels really good. And so, I mean, it's right in the same vein that kind of like Reaper does a little bit. So, I mean, obviously there's going to be some similarities in play style, but and I think with jobs that share the same armor type, you want that to a degree, but you again, right, you do need that job identity. And I think after seeing some of the really cool stuff that they did with the PvP actions, maybe they're just going to go hard around dragon aesthetics and they'll tweak a couple things to make up for that. Maybe they'll change Astro to maybe not be so prediction based or something and have some more immediate heals. Who knows? So, but
and that's the news.
I want to talk about fish.
I don't know if anyone has ever said that with that much enthusiasm.
At least not like out loud.
Look, I'm here. I'm bringing the hype. I'm ready. I'm so excited for this.
I have
I
all my
love to be in
notes up on
aquarium.
my second screen. We have a list of all the fish. We got them all. We're good.
I'm actually sitting in the aquarium right now, so I can go look at things as you tell me about them.
I should have prepared that. See, I had something prepared for last week when I thought we were going to talk about the thing that I'm not going to talk about, and we're just going to keep going because it's dumb. You saw it, Zen. You don't remember. It's fine.
I was
Don't
like,
worry.
yeah, sure, did totally.
My brain's full of snot right now. I don't know anything.
Did you?
Oh,
No
Oh
comment.
my gosh, that's so good. Anybody who's just listening to the podcast will miss out on Albino's green screen, but it's very good.
I don't. We don't. It's
I
fine.
get it. It's
I'll just
I'm looking at the cropped version of it a little bit. You can tell what it is if you take a minute. But I had to look at like the full. I'm like, oh.
I need to get an aquarium. I'll work on that.
so
Let's do this.
swimming back to the aquarium, just like sitting
Yeah.
in here for the 30 minutes we've been talking so far. 3 people have just come in. I've seen.
Oh
and
gosh,
I haven't been like tabbed in the whole time either. I've seen 3
Oh,
people come in.
dude. We'll talk about the. Oh,
Yeah.
got numbers.
Yeah.
Yes.
I got numbers.
I love number
But-
talk.
Oh, it's the aquarium. Oh boy.
So
That's a very good example of things that did not go the way you expected.
all right. So before we get into the fish, we're so close to the fish talk, everybody. Don't worry. We're so close to the fish talk. What got you in to 14?
Oh
Wait,
yeah, we
wait,
have to
wait,
ask
wait,
you
wait,
the.
We have
First, you gotta properly introduce Fruity. You gotta properly introduce our guest for the week.
I'm sorry.
You missed the whole category.
I'm sorry. I was looking and I'm like going back and forth and
Get
all
back
the nose
there.
got billboards and
I know it was very distracting, but I believe in you, Fusion. You can do this. Guest intro, Fish or Fruity. Let's go.
this
Maybe
week.
Fusion doesn't have it. Okay.
You know what? You do it. You do it. You seem to know what needs to be said.
You've got
Right.
the most hype.
I'm here. I'm ready. I'm actually very excited about this. So everybody, our guest this week is Fish or Fruity, who has kindly been listening to us ramble here during all of our news. But to give
It helped.
everybody, yeah, I mean, absolutely. To give everybody a little information, Fruity is a creator that makes fun and instructional fishing videos, content, information, and also established and put together the incredible Eorzean Aquarium, which is a house in-game that is filled with every fish that is attainable in the game. And you didn't even
That
just
can
stop
go
there.
into an aquarium.
That can go into an aquarium.
We have to add that because that is a fraction of the total number of species
Yeah.
of fish.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But we are so excited to have you here with us. I can't wait to talk with you. I
No,
mean,
thank you. I'm
yeah.
here. I'm. It's been wild, kind of just like in the past few months with the Eorzean Aquarium and just like all the videos. I've been doing videos for a couple years now.
Yeah.
And it started off with people coming into with the first fish pun of the day, the fish cord, which is the fishing Discord. Also, its known, its official name is the Fisherman's Horizon,
Yes.
which is from a previous fishing Final Fantasy game that I don't actually remember the number of.
8.
But
8.
is it 8? Okay.
Yeah.
But everyone just calls it the fish cord, and like that's everything is referenced as the fish cord, and the whole channel started up as people were coming in saying, "Hey, I'm trying to catch like ninja beta in like Mordona. Have any tips?" And everyone was just like, "All right, how do I catch this fish? How do I catch this fish?" Like, you know what? I'm tired of writing this down. I'm just gonna put it into a video, showing you how to do it. And I got started with that. So I started off with Ninja Beta at the time, which is a fish in Mordona that desynths into a minion, the Assassin Fry minion, the little purple, purple fish. That's how you get it. And then I've been doing that for 2 or 3 years or something like that. Oh, almost 2.5 years.
Nice.
I've lost track, but I think I'm about to hit 100 fish guides.
Woo!
Woo.
Which in the next week or two, we'll finally include every legendary fish in the game, of which there are 24 now or something like that. Plus, it is hard to keep track of which fish is which after a while, because there's 1,383 fish in the game.
My
Each one has a unique name, has a unique story, has a different size, different bait. Is ridiculous. So there's a ton of content to make videos about. But that's going back to what we actually was asked, is how I got into 14 as a friend.
Yeah.
Basically, I was working on a video game project, and I spent these 3 days, like 3 solid days, just crunching through it, and sent it off for submission to get reviewed. It was a official community project for Team Fortress 2, and 3 days of doing all this work, getting it done. And a friend of mine was like, "All right, you're done. You are clearly out of it. Come play Final Fantasy 14."
They got you.
You're down.
And I'm like, I love MMOs, and it was like, at the time it was free, and and this was 2015. This was like 7 years ago. And so I'm like, yeah, sure. So in my like sleep deprived, I think I was eating like, it was like chicken nuggets, and like, it was like, I was like full on gremlin at this point. And I'm just like, yeah, sure, we're gonna go jump in. And I made the derpiest looking Lalafell that I could, and just started playing it. And after like a few days later, after I was playing a little bit and got more sleep, I kind of sat there and I was like, crap, I like this game. And I just kept playing it. I played it for like maybe a year or so, and then I took a break, went to go play. At the time, I think Guild Wars 2 Path of Fire was coming out, so I was playing that. And then I played a little bit more, and so I've always been jumping between MMOs, but it's always come back to
so it got its hook in you.
Yes,
We already made that one. Can't do that one again.
It's a good one though.
The weird thing is, it wasn't because of the fishing initially. Like, I just loved the world. I just really like the world and the story and the gameplay, and it wasn't until like mid 2019, late 2019, when I was like, all right, Shadowbringers had come out, I think. Yes.
Yeah.
My first level 90 in Shadowbringers was actually Botanist. I was like all in on the Disciple of Land bandwagon. And I was like, yeah, I'm making tons of money in like the first week of just mining all this, or just gathering wood and selling it. Fairy apples, so much money. Yeah. And and then after that I was like, well, I have 90 mining and Botanist, I might as well go do fishing. And that's when I got hooked. Because I was maybe 45 at the time, and this was before ocean fishing, before they had a lot of like rebalance of experience and stuff. So it was slow to level. I was enjoying it, but it was really slow to level. And that's when I was just like straight to the end and never looked back.
That's
I definitely
awesome.
leveled a lot of my fishing while RPing.
Did you seriously?
Yeah.
There's a lot of that. Like, actually, I am learning this because I'm not a big RPer, but the aquarium has brought a lot of RPers to us, and a lot of the volunteers RP, and that's something that I learned is like, there's a lot of people who fish while RPing.
Yeah,
and like, that's their backstory. They're just a humble fisher.
There's such a great immersion element with it, and it's definitely something that you can do without, like, interrupting everything, right? Like, you can do it organically. You can, do it quickly in zones or like throughout a scene, which is super fun. Like, even with the leveling that I've done recently, because I didn't start until ocean fishing, so it's much easier, like you said, to start like power leveling or like just to go through that if you don't want to go to all the maps to start. But I had that exact same thought too, where I was like, oh, this would actually be really fun to do for like a character. I could do a whole character that's just about fishing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And there's so much that you can use in just fish lore, and the stories that they give you to base characters off of, and people have done that, and they've started doing that because of the aquarium. It's just mind-boggling now how so many people are fishing now.
I think one of my favorite, like not necessarily most serious, but like most in-depth character RPs one-on-one with another friend of mine was cloud fishing in the Sea of Clouds for like, I don't know, 3-4 hours or something. And at some point we were like, where do the fish come from? How are they in the air? Just little shit like that. You could talk about anything.
There's so cloud, like, that was kind of the wild thing with fishing is you think, like, you see fishing in other games and it's like, okay, you cast into the water, you bring up a trout. You cast into the water, you bring up a trout. With fishing, it's almost immediately, and by immediately I mean like 30 levels in, that they're like, okay, you get a quest called, you get the job quest, I think it's called Fish Out of Water. And they're like, okay, go fish in the desert now. And you're like, okay, I'm going to go fish in some oasis that has water. No, you're just fishing into a chasm full of sand. There's sandfish. And then you're like, okay, that makes sense. Sand's kind of liquidy.
Mhm.
Then they give you sky fishing, where you can fish off into the Sea of Clouds in Corythus. And you're like, okay, I can kind of see that. And then Heaven's War just throws all the curveballs at you, where you come in and they're like, all right, how about hell fishing? Let's just get started with hell fishing. And you're like, what's hell fishing? And in the Dravanian Forelands, that giant volcano, there's a ton of fish in that volcano. So you're in there. The largest fish in the game resides in that volcano.
Here's my question though. What if you want to eat any of those fish? Can you cook them or are they
Mhm.
impervious?
So there's a bunch of fish that you can
Sushi.
actually cook. Yeah, so they're like, they are used in cooking recipes, and one of the earliest ones you'll get is Princess Trout, which is in Middle Lenosha, and I feel so nerdy that I remember all this. But basically, it's Princess Trout. It's used as a level 5 culinarian recipe to make like cooked
No,
trout
I mean-
or something like that.
I mean
You can
specifically the
really
volcano
cook fish.
fish.
Then it's thinking because
Oh.
they live in a hot
Oh, 'cause
they
environment.
live in
can you
lava, so, like,
actually,
Are they
Maybe-
cookable?
maybe
Do
have
we want to already dip into Fishlore? Because there's an answer to that.
No, okay, we'll wait. We'll
Hold
wait. We'll
it.
make a note.
But I need this question answered. At some point.
Let me quickly go look it up so I get it right. But
Alright,
yeah,
alright.
no, that it is there.
Love it.
I'm so happy that you know. Like my joy has grown incrementally.
I'm just thinking we need a lore cast. We need Moose. We need fish lore. We need to get other people who've done maybe the plant lore. I mean, we need to get the network started, right?
A lure
do.
cast?
The lure
Viewer cast. I love it. It's good.
We did that one
All
too
right.
already.
So,
What?
so I guess taking us back to sort of your history with 14 before we get into the deep lure cast stuff. What jobs do you main outside of fishing?
No pun intended, tank.
Yes.
I am like I have been pure tank this entire time. First class was a paladin. I played paladin up through Shadowbringers, and then I got my Dark Knight leveled up. I was like, oh, Dark Knight's good. And then I met Gunbreaker,
Yep.
and I did Gunbreaker the rest of it. Gunbreaker was one of those skills that are one of those jobs that you get, and you're like, I just click with this.
Mm.
And that was kind of Gunbreaker for me the entire time. But now I mostly I go back to Dark Knight because they've made it so healers don't yell at me for playing Dark Knight. Which legitimately was one of the reasons why I didn't play Dark Knight, was because no one wanted to deal with Living Dead.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm like, it's the best invulnerability in the game. Like, don't, like, why?
Look, as a white mage, I would have bennied you anytime, you know? But I am glad they did some changes to Living Dead.
Yeah.
It was so good, but it also was like such a trip up for players that didn't know what to expect from it, or like new healers, or
Yeah,
it was just a
I
confusing
understand
one.
why. I
Yeah.
think the new version is actually like, I actually think the new version needs to be nerfed a little bit.
Yeah. It is strong as heck.
It's strong. It is
Yeah.
powerful.
I don't know at
Um,
all what I'm doing, and I just like big pulling with trust, and I'm like, I don't care. You don't need to heal me. I'm fine.
Yeah, because you heal yourself. It's great.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I do tank, and then generally any other support role. So I'll dabble in healing. I'm working on getting my scholar leveled up right now.
Mhm.
My alt is using is loving Sage, and then like Bard would be the other one kind of come in. So I'm not a huge like pew pew DPS because I'm usually never good at those roles. When it comes to support roles, that's typically where I am great at. So that's what I'll do. That's what, and so so tank followed by healer-ish, bard-ish.
Yeah.
Nice. I love it. I love it.
It's also really comfy to just be able to be like, no one expects you to have super good DPS or anything. As long as you either keep them alive or keep mobs off of them, pretty simple to play. It's really, for me at least, it's really cathartic just to be like just running through doing wall-to-wall pulls and dungeons.
Yeah.
Definitely. So, with that, what has been your favorite expansion? I mean, you could say just because of story, or you could say because of jobs or
Fishlore that was uncovered.
I flounder between a few of them.
Oh my god.
But I have to say I think Shadowbringers is probably the best expansion. But that's kind of cheating.
Right.
Because Endwalker made Shadowbringers better.
It's true.
In my mind.
Okay.
And so that's why I put that's why in like my mind it's like Shadowbringers and then Heavensward Endwalker and then Stormblood I actually think Stormblood's pretty good up there too, and then ARR. And that's just because it's older. Not because I don't think ARR is bad, but I think like all the stories have been great. I think I've enjoyed all of my time playing through the stories. To me, Shadowbringers followed by like Heavensward and Endwalker are probably my top three, just overall and in general. If you want to talk fish, though, then it's Heavensward, Stormblood, Shadowbringers, A Realm Reborn, and Endwalker will wait on.
Yeah.
I love that you know that.
It's very
even have to
telling.
think about it.
Yeah.
The best fish, some of the most fun I've had fishing were with some of the fish that came out in Heavensward and came out in Stormblood. Partially because mechanically at the time they were really fun, or just because they're really weird fish, or where you're fishing them is absolutely bonkers. Like the middle of a volcano, like 100 feet above the lava. So there's a lot for that, but yeah, if we're talking just fish, it's Heavensward, Stormblood, Shadowbringers, A Realm Reborn, and then Endwalker will decide in a couple of years.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
Did we actually officially ask you how you got into fishing?
No,
You
I think
did
it came
touch on
up.
it, but
a little bit.
Go ahead.
I mean, the actual story for that is I was running through Gridania, and I was outside the Adder's Nest, and there was this little Lalafell named Proxima Centauri that was teaching somebody how to catch the fish in that water, like that little bridge in Gridania as you go over to like the Adder's Nest. There's a fish in there. There's a bunch of fish in there, and they were showing them how to catch the big fish there, which I want to say is a Bloody Brewer, but I don't actually remember the name of it. But anyways, I was like, I'm I was like level 55, 57 or something at the time. I had the gear for it. I could do it. And like, I wanted to know how to catch big fish. And so this little Lalafell taught me how to do it. And I caught it in like 5 casts, and it was great. And I'm like, oh, this is pretty easy. So I was like, all right, I'm just going to catch all of the cities. And so I did all of Gridania, all of Limpsa, then realized Ul'dah doesn't actually have any water for there to be fish in or sand. So there's no fish in Ul'dah. And I'm like, oh, crap. Okay, move over to the housing district. So that I caught it all in the Goblet and the Mists and Lavender beds.
You got stuck.
And then I was just like, well, I might as well just keep going. And I think at that point, somebody, I had joined a crossword link shell of fishers. And they were like, hey, this fish called the Ruby Dragon came up. And if you know anything, those who don't know about fishing, the ruby dragon is considered the rarest and debatably hardest fish to catch. And I'm like, me being my young naive fisher self, like, yeah, I'll go fish that up. And so I got the bait. I went out. I was like, what do I do? They're just like, you catch this fish and then you mooch this fish, and then you catch it again, and then you mooch it again, and then you just do that over and over again. I'm like, okay, easy enough. And they're like, yeah, good optimism, kid. Good luck. And I caught it. I caught it first window.
Oh,
5 minutes
no,
after.
you did not.
First fish of the game at the time, already caught first window. I had no idea what I had just done. Guy was pissed at me. Like, to put it on a scale, what took me 10 minutes to catch has taken people 10 plus months
Yeah.
to be able to catch.
Oh my god.
And
just
so
have
I'm like,
the fish luck.
well, okay, guess I'm gonna just keep going now. And then the firmament came about, and I started ranking in the firmament. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna fish, because that was kind of what I was really into. The pandemic had just started. I was working from home, and I was like, I can do this. And I was working on big fish more, and I was like, all right, let's just go and fish in the firmament. And because it was pretty chill, like that first season was pretty chill. And I realized after the first day they updated the rankings. I'm like, oh, I'm in 11th place. Okay, let's just keep going then.
Yeah.
Yay.
I mean, that's kind of like the sum of my fishing career is just, okay, let's keep going.
Right.
And the next day I bumped up to third, and then after the third day I was in first place and remained there the rest of the time. And so I was first place on Malboro in season 1, 10th place in season 2, because I decided to stop like 2/3 of the way through because I was just tired of it.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
And I ended on like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 as my score. I was like, all right, perfect, we're done.
Yep, I'm done.
I'll leave it. I'll sit wherever I get. And then in the third one, I just did enough to get the guide out. And I was like, I'm going to let other people deal with this stress. The fishing rankings were intense.
I can believe
it was ridiculously intense.
Yeah.
And then from there, I started up the channel, started being more active in the fish court, and then participating in what we call discovery, which is whenever new fish are added, we actually have to go find them, because we can't get any information about what their name is and which fishing hole they're in.
Right.
And that's it. And so we have to go find the fish, and that's a process. That's a huge community undertaking.
Right.
And so just did that, and then it just kind of just kept going from there. And then when Endwalker came out, I used that as a chance to kind of not really rebrand, but like really updo all of my guides and planned ahead for like what I was going to do when, and made sure I had the time to get that edited out. In the first month, I probably had like 20 guides out. I had the incomplete quest guide out, all the important levy fish, all these, like all the purple scripts, almost all the stuff that you needed for white script farming, for purple script farming. I had that, and that's when things just like blew up.
Yeah.
So
I love that it started, and I think I said this joking in the pre-show, but those who walk before will lead those who walk after. Just a little Lalafell who taught you how to catch one fish, right?
Yeah,
It's
and
crazy.
replicating that has been kind of my goal.
Yeah.
With fishing, in like with the guide, with the aquarium and all this stuff. It has really just been, you just need to catch one fish. And if you and once someone gets that feeling of, oh my gosh, hold on, this is it, I caught it, oh my god, I got it, they're like, all right, now you can do it again, it's gonna be great, and it's gonna just go off from there.
So you got the one fish, and you've just been jiggy with it ever since.
Nah.
No, I'm gonna give that one. No. I'm gonna give that one. That's like an 8 out of 10.
Okay.
I'll give that one because it's new and creative. I hadn't heard that one before.
All right.
It's hard.
Yeah.
We've been covering so many of them. I'm like, I'm running
It's
out
true.
here.
I held one back earlier. You said it was intense. I was like, are you sure it wasn't in boats?
I held back when you were like, not to keep this dragging on when we were talking about dragoons. Like, that was a missed opportunity to not keep this dragoon on.
Oh my gosh. All right. I've got to stop this pun train before it really off. Although I think it's pretty much, I think the ship has sailed. I think it's going to be basically what's happening for the rest of today's podcast. But you mentioned
you're gonna serve as our anchor. It's gonna be fine.
Okay, yes, I'll do what I can.
We're just gonna start throwing puns out for the halibut.
I'm gonna do what I can to really plumb the depths to make sure that we have a rich and full-bodied, conversation today beyond just puns. So
I can feel Sly's anger from here.
That's fine. That's fine.
So you mentioned Guild Wars 2 actually earlier, which got me very excited because they just put fishing into Guild Wars 2.
I would like to congratulate them for becoming a real game now.
Yes, yes. So have you fished in other MMOs, or is it just specifically Final Fantasy XIV, or has this become something that's kind of like, rippled out to all the other games that you've played as an interest?
Yeah, I've always had like an interest in fishing, and I apologize if you can hear my cat meowing.
Just a fact.
But
that's okay.
Yeah, it's just a thing that's gonna happen. I have I have fished in other MMOs and other RPGs, and I am not ashamed to say that it has been a selling point for a lot of games.
Hey, you know what you like?
Yeah, like Stardew Valley. I played a little bit of that. Did a bunch of fishing in that. We talked about Black Desert Online. That had fishing that I was extremely disappointed with. That was the last 15 minutes, the first hour, first 45 minutes was character creator, first 15 minutes was fishing, and then was just like, eh.
Was it just that it was
for me here
boring? Like it wasn't a very good, robust...
It's literally AFK. Like it's the AFK thing. So you just cast out and then you walk away. So it wasn't very engaging, I guess would be the word.
Right.
New World had fishing, so I played that for a little bit before it...
Yeah.
Or whatever it did. And then Guild Wars 2. I actually played Guild Wars 2 in the betas, like early on. I was at the pre-launch, so I played Guild Wars 1. Like Guild Wars 2 gets fishing, and I was there.
Yeah,
and especially with Guild Wars 2 being like big on fishing, and then it being my favorite Guild Wars 1 expansion, so factions. I was like, all right, yep, fine, I'll come back for that one too. I mean, I had come back for all the expansions, so this wasn't new. But yeah, no, I went and I fished. I actually made a couple of guides on some of the fishing, and I got pulled into the aquarium project and haven't gone back yet to finish it.
I'm curious, what was the first game you ever played where you fished?
RuneScape.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that'll do it.
Back fishing lobsters in Catherby back in 7th grade. Yeah, that was it when I was like, fishing's a really chill thing to do in video games, and it still is. And I'm like, I hope games keep it that way. Like it's a very relaxing thing. And then 14 came around, and I'm like, this is still relaxing with a bit more stress.
Right.
You actually have to think about it this time. But yeah, so yeah, like I do play other ones, and there's a couple of games coming out that I'm like, oh, this looks like it has a fun fishing mechanic in it, and so like I'm keeping an eye on that. Moonglow Bay, I played that for a little bit. Animal Crossing, all these other games with fishing.
Hades had fishing.
Hades does have fishing, and I haven't had enough time to play Hades to unlock it yet.
Yeah,
it is on my list. I have a, like, might have been mentioning earlier, like I have a flight, and so all right, gonna be playing Hades on that flight. Monster Hunter also has fishing. I'm a big Monster Hunter fan. So,
what about real life? Do you like real fishing?
I do.
Yes.
I just started like a few months ago. Yeah. I've been telling myself, like, I really wanted a hobby that I couldn't accidentally monetize.
Which is the content creator's dilemma.
Yeah, because up until recently, I was a contractor basically. So I was like contract to contract, and so I always had those backup plans. And I was like, all right, I don't have that anymore. I can now get a hobby I can't make money off of. Like explicitly am forcing myself not to, and that ended up, I'm like, oh, you like fishing in video games, let's go try fishing in real life, and I've been enjoying it. So Yeah, and especially with where I live, I can walk. There's a river like 5 minutes over there.
Nice.
Another river 10 minutes over there. The fish hatchery where all the stocked fish come for are like a quarter mile across the field over there, and so it would just kind of made sense to pick up fishing, and I've been doing that, and it's been a lot of fun. Been very cliche to say, but it's been very zen to just be able to be like, all right, it's been a rough week. I'm going to go down to the bank for a couple hours, and even if you don't catch anything, you can still see the fish, which partially makes it more annoying.
Right.
But,
They're taunting you.
yeah, they're just like right there.
We know you're there.
I see you. I see you, Trout. Please bite. But like even then, it's really nice and relaxing to just go out because just the repetitiveness of casting out, waiting, reeling it back in, casting out, waiting, reeling it back in. Little excitements of the bite. It's a really nice zen thing, basically. So yeah, so I do fish in real life. Do
you have an IRL fish that you consider your greatest achievement so far?
Oh, yeah, I caught this chain pickerel, which think of in your mind, think of a really fast-looking fish with a lot of teeth. Isn't a shark that lives in a lake and is about 13 inches long. I caught one of those didn't really intend to catch one, but I caught it. Yeah, about that one. Yeah. And I caught that, and I was out kayaking with my dad on a lake, and I was just casting out. I just kind of pulled in a little bit, and suddenly it was like, oh wait, there was force there. Oh wait, now my thing is going that way. Now it's going over here. Oh crap, there's a fish on the line. Started reeling it in, got into the net, and I was like, I had never caught one of these fish before. I didn't know how to pick it up properly because it was very slimy. That's kind of the issue with some of these predatorial fish, is that you can't pick them up by the mouth unless you don't like your fingers. And so I was like, I know I don't need to pick this one up. Unfortunately, it came undone, but came unhooked itself. But that's like my favorite fish so far to catch, and is just these predatorial fish because they're always fun.
So they have that extra coolness. Yeah, the coolness factor, the anger factor.
Yeah, so I will add, because a lot of people also ask, do you cook the fish? No, I'm actually not a big fan of eating fish.
No.
Not like regularly. If someone's like, all we have is salmon, I'll be like, okay. Not a fan of raw fish sushi though. I just am not brave enough to eat that.
I need to be in a very particular mood to do sushi.
Yeah,
I'll do it, but
one of these days it'll be like, I'll just be like, yeah, sure, let's give it a shot. And I'll be like, wow, this is the greatest thing ever. That's how that always works.
I love sushi, but I don't care all that much for cooked fish.
Yeah, see, I can't do
sushi all the time, but I'm not that big on those.
Can't do cooked fish, but I do catch. But all of my fish I release unless it is prohibited by law, which I've not caught one of those fish yet. But I do catch and release, and I'm trying to be very humane with all the fish that I catch. So,
I love to eat fish. I'm the only one.
I love that me fish too.
Yeah. I don't like to fish, but I'll eat the fish if you catch the fish.
And
I'll even clean the fish. I'll clean it. I'll cook it. It's fine. I just don't want to catch it. Yeah.
Well done. You're the culinarian in our current party.
So if we ever get stranded on an island,
I'll catch.
Yeah.
There we go.
And none of us will starve. We're set.
Oh no! So we touched a little bit earlier, and honestly, we could probably do an entire series of podcasts about this. But we touched earlier. Look,
yes,
we will do it.
Yeah.
But for today's your interview, Fishlore. I really like the way this has been phrased in the document. Charles, I believe this is your responsibility here. Fishlore is insane. Do you have any favorite fish descriptions? It is. Fishlore. What do you consider to be some highlights from Fishlore?
Okay, where to start? So like I was saying earlier, there are 1,383 fish in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Each one has a description. Sorry, let me be more specific. There are 1,383 fish in the fishing log. There are over 1,500 fish total in the game.
Mm.
Because there's a bunch that they don't count the diadem in the fishing log, and half the quest fish after Stormblood onwards aren't counted in the log, and some of the like crystalline mean and like studium fish don't count in the log. But of all those fish, every single one has a unique description, and every single one has a log entry, which is written in a way of kind of like a scholarly description.
Mm-hmm.
And I had yesterday, I think, one of the translation leads for Square Enix was talking about the fishing log. Because somebody had asked, somebody on the aquarium staff was like, could you tell us about the fishing log? And they're like, the fishing log, like the fishing description coming out of Japan is nuts. And they basically said, like, we have ran out of real world fish to use, and we're just now entering into the what the fuck type of fish. And that's what you see in can I say the final zone name? Is that okay?
Sure.
Yeah.
So if I say Ultima Thule, so all the fish in Ultima Thule, good chunk of those are just like eldritch horrors, just space horrors.
Makes sense.
But so there's a lot of good ones. In terms of like the fun ones, there's like I really liked the depressed kelp.
Yeah.
There's kelp that if you read it is depressed. There's in Ultima Thule, Forbidding Way and Terrifying Way are these two fish that gives some loperates. I can't pronounce. I can say them in my head. I can't say them out loud. Never had to. With the loperates, there's some good back and forth between those. Basically about how this one fish was mistaken for a loperate, and then they realized its ears was actually like its eyes, like its nose or something, and that's why it was called Terrifying Way.
That makes sense.
It was terrifying to the loperates, and then its big fish version that just came out in 6.1 is a Terrifying Way, and the story behind that one was a loperate got into a staring contest with it, and it won and terrified the loperate so much, just like nobody will go near these fish anymore. Like you will not find a loperate anywhere near this fishing hole.
I'm just imagining the staring contest and it being like, I want to look at what I think is your face, but I have to look at the ends of your ears because that's where your eyes.
It gets really awkward because you find out the fish doesn't actually have eyelids, so it can't blink.
Yeah. And then some of the new ones that have been recently, like the biggest one that kind of kickstarted my dive into Fishlore was the warm water trout. It started off as this artist who I need to credit, can't remember their name, but they made this picture of Dalamud exploding in the background. And this fisher is sitting in like this pond, and over the mountains, like Bahamut's coming out. And it's just the fisher just kind of goes, oh no, this will affect the trout population.
I've seen that,
And I'm just like, did it though? Because at the time I'm like, well, hold on, there's no trout in or around the Baja Blast. And and so I'm like, there's no trout in Thanalan or in Mordona, like in that area of the Battle of Cartenow. And so I started looking into it, and one of the aquarium staff was like, well, there's the warm water trout, that's in Thanalan. And if you read the description for the log about the warm water trout, it explicitly says that it showed up in Thanalan after the 7th Umbral Calamity. So after the Baja Blast, the trout showed up in Thanalan.
Oh my god.
Is it a space fish?
No, it's native to Limsa Lominsa, or upper
okay.
Lenosha.
Yeah.
It's native to the
Splashed that far.
Well, no, it just swam. It migrated.
Yeah. It may have been. I mean, that's so interesting. I love this. I saw that too, and I was so curious as well that like local populations may have been more directly affected because we see all of those blast zones in Limsa,
Mhm.
right? There's even like by the water, the explosion of crystal, which we
Yeah.
know has to do with all of that.
Mordona has a ton of those fish.
Yeah,
Mhm.
whereas in like Thanalan, there seems to be in many. Well, there are some like large blast zones, but
the
like with the
burning
way
wall,
that like the way that the
Near
water is
Drybone,
connected.
Yeah.
It may have like completely decimated populations in some areas, but then some were able to like offshoot and go elsewhere and migrate, and now that
Yeah.
population flourishes.
Yeah, it's weird because like with the warm water trout, it called out in the log. If you look at it, it'll say like most common in Vilbrand, like Lenosha, and it will be like it says nothing about Thanalan is to where it is. And to me, I'm like, all right, so knowing that the fishing log is written in the idea of like the scholarly style, that's kind of what the translator was saying, was like they kind of write it like it's like a scholarly thing. That it's not even called out in that. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, so that's new information then, that the warm water trout is in Thanalan. And if you kind of connect the dots about like, all right, what type of fish are in like Upper Lenosha versus down there, you kind of plot out, okay, it left Upper Lenosha, it swam across the Strait of Melthor, it went into Thanalan, it just took over the waters. And if you look at it, the two zones that it's in are the two coastal zones. It's where there's the body of water is where it could come in. I'm like, good enough for me.
The world building is insane when you really get, because everybody always jokes about like the item descriptions or minion descriptions, but fish and plants and all of the crafting materials, everything have these. And that's why I was like, I have to ask this question. I had to put it in the outline. It's just insane.
I can just see when they planned ARR, like the fishing lead, right? There's got to be one, right?
Oh,
He
yeah.
pulls out a map and he's like, okay, so these will migrate here, these will go over here.
I wanted to call one out that actually you did recently that I've personally found to be like so revolutionary, especially considering the 24-man that we have currently with Agaya.
Yeah, this one. Did you see the update for it?
No, wait, no. I saw the original thread.
There was an update. So let me go through this one. In going back to Upper Lenosha, there is that large skeleton. I think it's Upper Lenosha or Outer Lenosha, one of the two.
Oh yeah.
There's that giant skeleton.
It's like, for anybody who maybe not like envisioning, when you're in Upper Lenosha in those areas, there's kind of like the shacks, and then there's the like Coral Guild leaf thing that's like back in that waterfall area. Up along those cliffs, there are these like exposed serpentine skeletons that are like the earth is kind of crumbling, and you can see the exposed bones along that ridge of cliff.
They're named, I think, too, right?
The bones?
Weren't they?
So that's where we get into it.
Okay.
Yes.
If you do the quest that the little Kakirin gives you outside of, like, right at the port on the western side of that area, it's like New Hot Lunch or something like that. It takes you to this Lalafelian researcher named Tengatonga. And he's like, I'm here researching this fish. I think it is the great deity Thalos, which so Thalos and Pericos were Lemlian's twin serpents that brought the waters to the world. That's interesting. So the reason it was interesting to me is because we have a fish named Little Thalos, and we have another fish named Little Pericos. And so I started looking at the logs for those. I'm like, interesting. Okay, that's fun. These are these are the namesakes of those twin serpents. I'm like, okay, that's kind of fun. And then if you look at another fish in that area, there's a fish called Nepto Dragon, which is part of the Feast of Famine questline. And this is where the update starts coming in. The Feast of Famine questline has you catch the Nepto Dragon. It's like the ultimate, it's the end of the thing. And you have to catch the Nepto Dragon, and what you learn about the Nepto Dragon is that it is only been seen to appear after major natural disasters, similar to, in this case, the seventh umbral calamity.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, I had originally figured that this giant skeleton was a Nepto Dragon because it shared features based on the skeleton and based on the icon, and we actually see a large Nepto Dragon in the cutscene concluding the Feast of Famine, which unfortunately you can't watch in the
room,
journal. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would look it up on YouTube, and you can see it's a large serpentine fish that has a lot of these features that the skeleton has. What I didn't realize in that first tweet, and then I came up in the second one, was the bit about the calamity. We know that the water levels of the world were high, partially because of the sixth umbral calamity, and because it is explicitly called out in a fish called Cindersmith, which is a lava snail in Albalathia. Yeah, this is where it starts getting wild.
Is there a fish-shaped murder board?
I was just
With
thinking
pennies?
that.
It's great.
Basically Pepe Silva in this case. Like I'm like just like pointing it out. Yeah. So like we knew the water levels were high. Well, originally I was like, hold on a second. It's probably just a stuck Nepto Dragon. It just was big Nepto Dragon, because they've kind of fudged the visuals of certain fish when they have to present them in game. Because we know how long they are. When you catch a fish, it tells you how many ilms it is. So like we know that Problematicus is 100 some odd feet long. Stuff like, or 1,000 feet long or something like that. But it's a big fish. Anyways, so we saw it, like I figured it was a Nepto Dragon, but then I saw it only shows up after calamity, or like after natural disasters. And I was like, oh, wait a second. The sixth umbral calamity flooded the world. Okay, let's go look at that. Oh, that was caused by water aether. We know from the Studium quest that aether affects fish because that is what causes spectral currents in ocean fishing. Yeah, bear with me here. So my theory was that the skeleton in Upper Lenosha was actually from the sixth umbral calamity 15,000 some odd years ago, and was a water etherically charged little Thalos, which became a Nepto Dragon, which then became that big. And so if you think about mythology, when you like every legend, every myth has a grain of truth. And in my mind, I was like, okay, we know that there was people who evacuated to that area where it was from because onto the mountain. And so you just witnessed the entire world flooding, and then you see this giant creature. Like, yeah, you're gonna think it's a god.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, fair enough.
You're gonna believe that. So, anyways, the whole end of that is the thing about what Tengatanga is saying is like, I think it's Thalos. He's wrong. It's a giant Nepto Dragon from the sixth umbral calamity. That's the hill I'll die on.
Love it.
I have a smidge of information that may help your theory. Those bones are in 1.0.
Yeah, that I learned about that because I learned about that because they became apparently more exposed in.
They were in a cave
in 2.0.
prior to.
Yes, that I knew, which basically kind of just was like, yeah, okay, this is closer to what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
And so
there's also the possibility that now that we know that the 12 are connected to animals of some variety, I mean, there is something to be said there that possibly this type of serpent or these type of creatures are an extension of Limlayan, the deity. And maybe with this, like, you know, I don't know, depending on what else is revealed, right? Like, these connections or how much the 12 have interfered or not, or exactly what they are.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's definitely something that is so interesting. And to even be able to trace through all these little pieces of lore and fish lore and contextual environmental stuff, to then say, like, hey, you know those things you've seen 500 times? Well, guess what? There's actually a lore.
And this is one of the reasons why I love fishing.
Mm-hmm.
In this game, is because it takes you to these places and keeps you there. It's like in a quest or like maybe like a Lev or something like that. you're there for a minute, you're paying attention to something else. When you're fishing, you got a lot of time to look around.
Yeah.
Like you got
Yeah.
plenty of time to sit around and explore. And that's one of the reasons why I really, really like fishing the way it is because it's taking you into these places that you don't normally go and puts you into places where you don't normally see them as. It puts you into a zone or an area in a way that not many people will see it. There's a lot of fish that are tied to very rare weather because weather has rarity in this game.
Mm-hmm.
Just to add more layers. You don't seeing Raktika during umbral wind is not something that a lot of people will see. It is gorgeous. There's fish that you can only catch during umbral wind in Raktika. So you get to sit there and really bring in this stuff. And there's corners of the world that you sit there and you're like, can you fish there? Oh yeah, you can. And then you find stuff like the Nepto Dragon, all these other things going on that are in there. And that is like one of the reasons why I love fishing in this game, because there is that slowness to it. It lets you really sit there and appreciate the zone that you're in and really get to look at it.
You can really see, I think anyway, having gone through all of the rooms in the aquarium, I think that you've really gone through and made each of those rooms with the types of fish special to that area. So you can really see that reflected, that love of the areas in each room. I loved it. I would go so far as to say I love just looking at the details in the room almost as much as the fish.
Right.
Yeah, that was so moving into the aquarium, that was one of the things that when we were getting started, that was one of the goals for it, was each room we were going to divide it up into the regions. This is at the time that made the most sense. That was the easiest to do. And I mean, no one's done this before, so it was the first time we did it, so we might as well try it. And so that provided the most creative outlet for people, for the volunteers. And that was kind of what we wanted to achieve, was being able to be all right, if you're in the Kugane room, or the Hingashi room, you felt like you were in that area looking at the fish.
That's so cool. I mean, we have so many really detailed questions about the aquarium itself as well. Yeah. Which I want to ask more about when we get further. I did want to really quick touch on, because Zen asked earlier, what's the lore behind Volcano Fish?
Oh, sure.
Okay. Oh yeah, okay. So the one fish, I forget now, I honestly don't remember exactly what you had asked, but I have the tab open for the fish. There is a fish that comes out of a fishing hole in the volcano in the Dravanian Forelands called Mourn, Mourn, and it is named Oven Catfish.
Okay.
And it is one of the few times we have in lore somebody has caught an already cooked fish.
Oh, so they are pre-cooked.
So in this case, the whole lore reads, an ancient tome on culinary legend kept on display at the Bismarck in Limsa tells the story of a man who climbed the highest peak in Abelathia's spine to catch the mythical catfish which swim in the red-hot blood of Hydaelyn herself, the lava. Mm-hmm. Upon drawing the fish from the lake of lava, he found the fish was already cooked and proceeded to devour it, for the journey into the heart of the mountain had him left famished. And by the way, I read that from Gamer Escape.
Hey! Oh my gosh. All right, well, there's the answer. They're pre-cooked and somehow they're alive because of ether, I guess.
Yeah. That's the fun part. And if you desynth it, it actually gives you fire rock.
Okay. Interesting.
On top of fire crystals and, oddly enough, water crystals.
A little bit in some steam.
Now I'm over here deep in etherology thoughts.
The fish in the lava, they're all slowly cooking.
Does that make them, if they're composed of fire ether or fire rocks, closer to something like an elemental, or does that make them
my next now that I've kind of done I've done the Bahamut, I've done the Thalos thing. My next thing actually is trying to figure out why there's so many albino fish in Norvran. If you go like most of the fish in the source and a lot of fish in Raktika are all albino. And a lot of them are like they're all white in the first. Yes.
First.
So in Norvran in the first. And when I say the source, that's the name of the body of water.
Yes, the body of water.
So in the source, the body of water, they're all albino, and some of the ones in Raktika are as well. And I think there's a couple too in Kalusia, but Kalusia is kind of weird because that's where the robotic fish is. So that one has a bit of a weird thing, but there's notably higher amounts of albino fish on the first than there are known in Eorzea, and I want to see if there's any lore behind why that might be.
Yeah,
I mean, we see the almost what is it? Not infrared effect, but the fact that the actual coloration and pigmentation of everything from trees to grass has been affected by the flood of light. That there seems to be some kind of bleaching or warping of color, possibly.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah,
of
yeah,
like
that's kind of my expectation.
Light exposure, which could also be why sin eaters so often express as being like entirely
pure white. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think part of that is there are some fish in lore that people thought are named, like there is Sin Spitter and Sin Eater. Crap, I can't remember the name of it, but there's two fish that are named like Sin something, and it's because they look like Sin Eaters. And then they realize, no, they're just angelfish that are in the Presarium for some odd reason.
Because I wish I had done this before we played the first session, because there definitely would have been albino fish under the Crystarium in that waterway, certainly.
Creeping us out.
That's where they are.
Yeah, this would have been good.
That's where they are. I had no idea. All right, I'll be bringing more in.
Now you know for future world building in the D&D campaign. Yeah.
So that's my next lore. Sin Steeped. Thank you, Teo. It was Sin Spitter and Sin Steeped.
Nice.
Neither of which though are actually Sin Eaters. And that is called out in the lore that neither of them are Sin Eaters.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So if you want to get a little revenge, you go and you catch one, cook it up, and you eat it.
Instead of doing what Yulmore did, which was not a great move.
So what that actually is.
Yeah.
So you have, especially, it seems like here, gosh, even just like this year and, you know, in recent times, but throughout all the time that you've been doing things with fishing, done a ton of fishing events. What are some of your most memorable? I know recently I've seen the Pride fishing one, which I power leveled for, and I just couldn't do because we had a conflicting event at the same time. But we've also done this cool scavenger hunt with DC opening. So what are DC travel opening? What are some of your favorite events, most memorable?
So one of my favorites actually wasn't done with the aquarium. It was done at the end of the firmament rankings. And all the fishers came together, and in joining together in like a group commiserate of how painful it was to go through. When I say it was intense, it was intense. It was painful to fish because it was the highest point gaining job of anything. But what we did was effectively what we called was a fish train. So like you've heard of hunt trains, you've heard of fate trains, and so we did a fish train. And what it was all these rare fish were coming up one after another. Just like a group of 20 of us. We would jump over to the Ruby Sea, go try for Ruby Dragon. Okay, let's go try for this other one. Then go try for another one. And we just jump between it. And just as a group, we're doing this really social thing of like just going and fishing together and doing all that stuff. And that was a ton of fun because we've only ever done it once. And you really have to get like the fish to align for that to work right. Like it can't be like a hunt train where it's like, oh, they're all up, let's go. It's okay, they all line up. Oh, but it's at 3:00 in the morning. Dang.
Yeah.
It's like when you see in movies, like, what in 10,000 years the planets will align. And
I can just imagine all these fish are just chilling. We're like, oh, it's nice to be out. It's our time to hang out. Wow, there's a lot of worms floating around today.
Just over the horizon, a horde of fishers come out.
Blot
I think that was the same night that the same group of fishers killed an A rank.
All right.
As fishers, it took like 10, 15 minutes
I love it.
to kill it. It's
That
on
was my
video.
question.
It's
What-
on video.
You're gonna scare the fish
Awesome.
away.
Yeah, and it's a bunch of fishers just hitting like
Oh my God.
something like Corypheus with just a rod.
Excellent. That is beautiful.
Oh my God.
It's on video somewhere.
Oh man.
But yeah, so that was fun. And then some of the other ones that we've been doing with the aquarium more specifically have been really like group, bringing people in to talk, like to kind of bring them in to teach them how to fish. So like our big first event we called Sharkapalooza, where we did 2 ocean fishing voyages. We got a bunch of the staff to form parties with people, and we provided the bait. We provided any gear if they needed, like upgraded gear, and we said, all right, we're going to tell you everything you need to know about catching, about how to get the shark mount in ocean fishing, and here's what you have to catch, here's what you need to do. We had that all planned out. In the end, I think we had about 150 people or something come through on both of these, and that was our like second largest event.
Yeah.
Came through between the two things. It was hard to get an accurate number because people came twice. But it was easily over 100 people. I think the first one we had 11 parties.
Wow.
We hit the housing cap in the aquarium. That's when we learned that we're going to host, if we have big events, we're hosting them outside so people can actually join. But that one was a ton of fun because not only were we interacting with the community and getting people and showing them and saying, hey, you're level 23, but you can still go for this fit. Like, you can still go for this mount. And in the week following that event, we had so many people in like Discords and Twitter just adding me saying, hey, I didn't get it during the event, but I just got it because of what you told me. I'm like, yes, okay, cool. And that was kind of like that running effect. And then we did the Warden event, Rook, you were talking about, where we were just like, all right, everyone show up to Yanxia Prism Lake, and we'll be here for 3 hours, and we'll tell you how to catch Warden of the Seven Hues, which is the big rainbow fish, which is lovingly called pride fish.
Mm-hmm.
And we taught people how to do it. We how to catch it. I think like we had Spoofy come in and was streaming the entire thing. We had a bard. 2 bards ended up playing music the entire time. We had giveaways, and that had about 120 people show up. We were this close to capping Yanxia.
Oh man.
Is our understanding. And then just this past weekend, a week ago, we had our big cross DC travel event, where we hid stuffed Namazu inside the aquariums, and we called it like just the Namazu scavenger hunt, which they're still up.
Yes.
So if you want to go and look, we're keeping them up for about a month because we have plans.
Oh, how many are there?
There are 16 in total.
Okay. I found
out of the
2.
20. Yeah, there's 16 in total. And I told the staff to be, let's have a nice balance of like easy to find and really difficult to find. And they really, some of these I had coworkers go through, and then they would message me on like Slack, and they'd be like, I groaned so hard when I found it because it was so obvious, but it was just like so like out there. And that one, we're still trying to figure out how many people showed up, but we are well north of 225.
Wow.
So
we
like
shouldn't talk about where they are.
I don't care.
I really, really love the one in the big mouth.
Yes,
Shark.
I figured that was the one
thinking
you were,
of as
that
well.
one.
Yeah.
That one I figured you were going to mention. That's the one that everyone liked.
That one.
Yeah.
So good.
That was one that was popular. There's a couple of other ones that are hidden, and someone was like, "That's just not fair." I'm like, "It's out in the open, though." And they're like, "I know, but it's still not fair."
I noticed some of the books were like, "I found the Namazu," and I'm like, "I didn't."
Yeah, so that was a lot of fun, and then like that's kind of the start of it. with the
Yeah.
aquarium. So yeah, so like we're just gonna keep running these events because apparently they're popular and people love
Yeah.
them.
I'm actually really sad I missed the shark mount one. Do you have a video up for that one?
We don't like of it actually happening.
Oh, I
or
have how to do
no,
it.
but I do have a trailer that I'm really, really proud of
Okay.
because I took the when you're on Elpis
Mhm.
and you run into the large shark, and Hythodeath is like, that's just a shark, that's great. I put all of my editing skills into that, and I edited out the shark and put in the shark mount to make it look like Hythlo is talking about the shark mount,
That's
Nice.
and went through and did that whole thing for that. And I redid the dialogue. It was in Japanese, or the voice was in Japanese, so you got like the wow sugoi type thing because that's what everyone was talking about.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, cool. And that was the trailer for it.
That's awesome.
Super
It's,
cool.
I kind of do little, I don't want to say like stupid, but like fun little videos
Yeah.
to go with
Yeah.
everything, because that just makes it more fun. Like, I want to do
Mhm.
it. That's the whole point of the aquarium, is like just doing what we want to do,
Right.
what we think we have to do.
I love that.
So-
In addition to all of the like themed rooms for each region, you have a touch tank because you can't have an aquarium without a touch tank. You just can't. And then
That
you
was
have
our biggest mistake in launching.
Yeah.
We didn't launch with the touch tank. We had to rush it out and launched it the following weekend.
And then the shark room. I thought the like shark cage diving room was really creative.
That was
it made
neat,
me think.
yeah.
It made me
Yeah,
think
I love
of
that.
like an actual aquarium. You go
Yeah.
in and they have, like all these very themed rooms and like creative stuff. And I was just very impressed.
That was kind of like that whole room came across with two things. Was one, I really wanted to build a shark cage. And by me, I mean I wanted us to have a shark cage because I kind of prototyped it out and somebody else made it. Because the alts, we have 20 volunteers, like we're at 30 now, who all have alts
Ooh.
who make the rooms.
Mhm.
Because you
All
have
with
to be
fishy names.
with some, many of which have fishy names. But you have to get to level 50 and be
Mhm.
second lieutenant in a grand
Mhm.
company in order to buy the room. So it takes like a week just to war up a new room.
Yeah.
So a lot of people are digging into that one. But yeah, we're talking about the aquarium, and I don't think I've actually properly introduced it yet.
Well, because we're not quite there on the outline yet. So we just had a
I'm sorry.
couple
Sorry,
more
I'm just so
questions. It's
excited about
okay,
it.
I know
It's
we
fine.
need to, I know we all are. So the last couple questions that we had just before we get into the actual building and aquarium itself, what are you hoping for from future fishing system updates?
Kind of more. I would love more like biodiversity.
Mm.
I mean, like I think like we have the zones for it now, especially with Ultima Thule bringing us Eldritch Horrors from the deep. Which I say that, but a lot of them are actually based on deep ocean fish, which are in themselves Eldritch Horrors.
Yeah.
But
I saw a video recently of a like super rare sighting of a box jellyfish, and I was like, "Oh my god!"
Is it the black? Is that the black one that's kind of just like floating around? It's kind of
It
weird.
has,
Or no,
like,
that's a
like-
phantom jellyfish. That I'm thinking.
Yeah, this one has like these weird red tubes inside of it, and it is
Yep.
a box, and then it has these 4 tendrils, and it's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
huge and bizarre. And
Oh
like,
yeah,
oh, it's
those
so
are
good.
those are great. There's a fish that's called EBE 9318, which we just learned is an X-Files reference.
Oh.
Because that's what EBE is, an X-Files reference. And that one's actually based off a deep sea jellyfish that has like it like you look at it and you're like, what is that thing? It's like a circle with a bunch of tendrils coming off of it, and even the lore is like, what the heck is this? And I was browsing like Twitter one day because I follow a bunch of other aquariums because why not? And they were like, here's this deep sea fish, and I'm like, oh wait, that's EBE. I know that one. And I forget I now forget the name of it, but I don't even, or if there was even a name listed. But in terms of like system stuff, I don't. I kind of want the old fish eyes back. And this is a weird hot take in that in Shadowbringers, they changed fish eyes from it being a buff that you had to have active in order to catch certain fish, but it costs 350 GP. And it now is 550 GP, and it lets you ignore the time requirement of every fish up to any zone added in Stormblood, with the exception of legendary fish.
That's a lot of caveats.
And ocean fishing, which is weird. That's fishing in a nutshell, though. It's
right.
It's a lot of caveats.
Caviars.
No.
And in chat, someone's like a new spear. So fishers do have an offhand. You get it you get your first one at level 61, and that's it. That's it. You're done. You're best in slot for your offhand at level 61.
How are there less spears than blue mage rods? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
we don't know.
That's weird.
It's like because before like spearfishing before Endwalker was kind of we want botanists and miners to do fishing. Where you just kind of show up to a node, you push a button, you get something, and that's it. And then in Endwalker, they changed it to the mini game that we have now, which is a great improvement. Screwed over all my guides, but whatever. But yeah, they only ever gave us one spear. It's level 61.
So weird.
Doesn't scale. It's not like it's not like the earrings that you get that scale with your eye level or the stats. It's just plus like 60 or 84 GP, and that's it.
I wonder if that's a weird hangover from the fact that initially it seems like it was almost just kind of like, I don't know. Oh yeah, I guess we're doing this for fishing too, but go to the node. So like, I guess we'll give them like a spear, but there's not really going to be anything. And I see in chat too the idea of legendary spear fishing. So are there no legendary fish for spear fishing?
No, because beforehand you didn't have. They added Fisher's Intuition for spearfishing in 6.0, which, for those who don't know, Fisher's Intuition for rod fishing is a buff that you get if you catch a certain number of fish in a certain fishing hole and you get a buff that lets you fish fish up a certain fish. So to catch Warden of the Seven Hues, you have to catch like 3 indigo fish, 3 firelight fish, and 5 green fish, and that gives you the 2-minute buff, 250 buff, whatever, to be able to catch Warden. You cannot catch Warden any other way except under that buff. So they added that for spearfishing in 6.0. They added one fish, the Tebiek smelt, in Thavnir, and it's really, really fun. Like it's up there in some of my favorite fish to go for. And then they haven't done anything with it since.
Okay.
So, but they didn't add. But the way that they've added this, there's a chance now that they could add big fish, and like big these rare fish into these fishing holes for spearfishing. And as soon as they come out with that, if they release the patch notes and like wherever you are, you just hear like this high pitched squeal come across the wind. That was me. I will be so excited when we see like we have big fish in spearfishing, because there's a lot that they can do with that, and there's a lot of uncertainty too if they will back add fish, because there's all the Stormblood and all the Shadowbringers spearfishing holes that don't have big fish, and if they do, it's like this patch is going to have like 78 big fish compared to Shadowbringers, which only had 45. So it's wild, and there's a lot of excitement for fishers like me who do nothing but fish.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah, I don't want to take us on the tangent because Aquarium is very quick, but I think it's very important to spotlight all of the ways that you could delve deep into this game. Fishing, gathering, crafting, all of it is equally, not as deep maybe as rating, but they're equally aspirational, right?
I've posted a guide on Twitter for the Ruby Dragon.
Yeah.
I had to post because with the 6.0 release, it changed the strategy on how we approach that fish, because there are strategies to approach some of these fish. And my guide, while still accurate and still works, and I keep it up because of that, it isn't the most efficient way. So I'm trying to recatch this fish now, and so I can remake the guide with the more accurate way of doing it. But in the meantime, it's like, all right, here's a text guide. And I posted it on Twitter, and the comments were like, wow, this is more intense than ultimate progging.
I mean, pretty much. Seems like
it has taken longer. If you take the time it took to clear all of the ultimates the first time and added those all up, you wouldn't even come close to the longest time it took to discover a fish.
Wow.
It took 45 days to discover one fish once.
Wow.
And
Incredible.
and this is a big community undertaking whenever new fish are added, because fish they have a bait, they have a weather, they have a time, and that weather could be either just a solid weather, or it could be a transition. So like the previous weather has to be a certain thing. And there can end up being 1,600 plus permutations of where this fish could be.
And maybe you just didn't get it in that window, so you have to wait for another one.
Which happened in Shadowbringers with one of the fish called Moonlight Guppy. It took 3 weeks to find. Because it was so rare, we fished in that window so much that we were convinced it wasn't there. And then we finally found it, and we're like, oh, crap.
That has to be amazing to be the first person, though, that discovers that. And that actually, I mean, that is essentially like a team trying to do world first race prog, right? And they want their name to go down in the annals, like.
As soon as we get a bite, even if, like, it's not a catch, because this happened at the end of Shadowbringers, if we get a bite, because we'll know roughly, like, oh, this is a new bite in this hole. Its criteria doesn't miss. If we know that, it is like that horde, depending on that, like just sending on that A rank from earlier. It's just like everybody. If it is at 2:00 in the afternoon in Eorzea during a dust storm, after like a heat wave in Amarang, like there will be 100 people there across the entire game trying to mimic that one fish. That one catch.
So you mentioned a couple times thinking about kind of this topic, and then we'll probably push on to Eorzean Aquarium so you can talk about it a bit. But you mentioned a few times today that the firmament race was deeply painful.
Very much so.
I wanted to ask you, because there's been a lot of talk about the fact that like we may see another restoration, whether that be with like Garlemald or something else, that it seems like may be a style of content that they want to introduce moving forward, as they kind of termed it, like end game content for crafters gatherers. So do you feel like with Firmament, did you like the way it was? Do you feel like that pain of it was something that you enjoyed ultimately? Or do you think there could be changes that could make something like this more rewarding, especially from a fishing standpoint as endgame content?
I think there's a lot. The issue with the Firmament was it was a one-time thing.
Yeah.
Which made it extremely exclusive and extremely competitive. Especially like after the first ranking, when everyone was like, yeah, fishing was easy. Like, you can get your title easy with fishing. It was not the case in the second one. Like you had to fight for it. Because it was only like a 10-day thing that happened once. And that made it really, really stressful for folks who were really trying to get Saint of the Firmament and didn't want to do crafting or stuff. Because fishing, in my mind, next to botany and mining, was probably like the easiest thing to do, if not easier, because you didn't move. You didn't have to follow a route. There wasn't 2 different routes you could take. Like one wasn't more optimal. It was literally, all right, what's a good fish for points? That one? Okay, here's how you do it. And there was optimization within that. Like there was ways of doing that with timers, saying, all right, if it hasn't bit after 23 seconds, reel it in and go again. But because it had that sense of, oh, it was easy, everybody was doing it. And it became super stressful, like to the point where you had to be doing this for like 16 hours a day to get into the top 10. And it was rough. Mainly because, like, I mean, you were still pulling, even if you weren't doing 16-hour days, you could easily pull 100,000 points a day.
Yeah.
And some other jobs didn't even get that in 10 days. Yeah. So Fisher is the one that's pulling out, like, I think I'll have to correct me in chat, but I think like the world record for a single firmament season for fishing was 5 mil. Which, if you take all of the scores and all of the points of every job and class for the firmament across all of the rankings, fishing will be in the top 100 almost every time. Like almost every slot every time. Because it was so
lucrative.
Yeah, it was lucrative. And you see a lot of bots there now, farming up sky building script, because you could there it was. It was 2.69 million for a single phase.
Nice.
Not nice.
Yeah. Well, the guy who is in chat right now, who is one of the 2 people who did that.
I'm so sorry, friend. But also, good job.
Yeah.
But it was just really intense, to the point where it was like physically exhausting, and people like the one thing with the fishing community is that we understand how difficult and frustrating it can be, so we always look out for each other. And there was a lot of yelling of "Go the fuck to sleep."
Yeah. Stop what you're doing. So do you think a series or seasonal type of firmament might be the answer then?
I think keeping the firmament as it was would be fine. I think I think it wouldn't, like, lore wise, I don't think it would make sense to have it be seasonal.
Sure.
The one-off made sense to me. I think it should be a little longer, or it's like you get X amount of time or something to like turn it in. So like you don't have to be grinding 16 hours a day, and you can do it whenever you want. So I don't have to be sitting at my computer all day fishing. I can be like, I only need an hour to like record a good score for the day, and that's what counts.
Right.
And like they only count like your best hour or something. I think that would be great, at least for fishing, because I don't think that would work for anything else. But for fishing, at least, that would be really a good, healthy decision. What I would like to see, though, is ocean fishing rankings. And I think doing that seasonally would actually be a good way to get that feeling of ocean, like that competitive fishing. Yeah. While still making it kind of fair for everybody, because you can say like, all right, next 5 weeks is like season 1 of ocean fishing. Whoever's in the top 10 gets these prizes. And it just records whatever your best score was. Yeah. It does. It's not in like a single voyage. So say like one voyage you do 20 grand. That's what it puts you on. Okay. Next voyage you do 30 grand. Okay. Takes away the 20 grand and puts on the 30 grand. That would be what I would really, really, really want to see. Yeah. Because there's a lot of fun to that, and the scores can get pretty wild when you get really skilled in ocean fishing and really knowledgeable. Because again, in chat, the same guy who got some of the top scores in the firmament also currently holds what I believe is the highest record in ocean fishing, which was 52,936 points or something like that in a single voyage.
Yeah.
Amazing.
The high tier title is only granted at 20k. Yeah. And people already struggle with that.
It just it would mirror real life fishing competitions a little bit better as well, because usually they're time limited on a best score, We
can't really do size because we can easily max out a lot of fish. A lot of their fish size, and some of the skills just cut into that and make it really cool like that. But that's what I would like to see. I don't know if we'll see that, but I would love competitive ocean fishing.
It'd be great because it'd get more people into ocean fishing too.
Yeah, and there's already a ton of people ocean fishing. So I've gotten like all but one of the ocean fishing achievements, Like I would be more inclined to just casually go on an ocean fishing voyage
Mhm.
without needing to go just to get white script.
Yeah.
And just to go and do that, just to see where I stand.
Definitely.
Yep.
Let's talk then about the main attraction.
Yeah.
Are we finally
The-
here?
2 hours later.
Eorzean
Even though we've already
Aquarium.
talked about it a bunch.
Yeah,
I mean-
we can skip some of it.
I'm
Well,
sorry,
I'll be
I'm not
honest.
sorry.
Some people think
I'll
of an
be honest.
outline as like a list. Our outline is like,
It goes all over. We
Wibbly
kinda go with
wobbly,
the flow.
timey-wimey stuff.
It's
I
because
mean-
I made it this time. That's just it.
No, this was great. Honestly, I'm glad that we got to talk about fishing in
Yes.
general, because the amount of podcasts that I think in the time at least that I've been here that we have done specifically about like a facet of just dedicated hand land. Like I knew I wanted to talk with you not just about the aquarium, but also about fishing, because it is something, and I think we all wanted to talk about it more too, that is such an incredible facet of the game that many people may not have even really discovered, or they may have picked up at some point in Limsa and then just never actually looked into. And to know that there is like a thriving community around this kind of content, and that you yourself are kind of, you know, this big figurehead in it, is really important, because I think a lot more people can find content they really enjoy
Mhm.
in this type of thing in the game if they haven't explored it before. So I'm glad we got to talk about it. But let's talk about the Eorzean Aquarium specifically. So can you tell us a little bit about the aquarium? And I guess just intro it for a second here. We've got the location, stuff like that. For anybody who doesn't know, this is a physical location. Plot 59, Ward 16, the Lavender Beds, Malboro, so Crystal, DC, open 24/7. And what would you say just about the aquarium?
So the aquarium is basically this single house. It's a small house, but it holds every single aquarium fish that can be put into an aquarium on display. And it's across 24 different exhibits. We call the private rooms, they're in the private rooms, but we call them exhibits. There's over about 100 fish tanks. They're all tier 4, so like they're the biggest fish tanks that we can fit. We have max size for all those. And in the end, I think it's about over 180 fish. All hand caught, I would like to add. We didn't buy any of these off the market board. And that sounds really impressive until you look at most fishers' retainers, and we basically had them all already. I think I had to go and catch like 6. Like 6 common tier junk fish. But it's just a small house in Malboro that has that just happens to have every single fish on it.
It's a great plot for it, though. It's the one on
Yes.
the island, like with the
We-
waterfall and everything.
Mhm.
We were gifted that
Oh, awesome.
that house. We didn't actually even have to fight for it either. Yeah, so let's all right, origin story of the aquarium.
Yeah.
Because that's like this is in my mind, I think it's a really fun story. Back in like March, I was, as I had mentioned earlier, I had just finished my master's degree, so I had a ton of free time, and I was really interested in making a venue of some sort, kind of like making a proper guild hall for fishers, a lounge to kind of come and hang out, and people could come if they're new and get bait, get like the rare baits that they might not be able to access yet, get tips, tricks, help, and just as like a place, like a center place for us to hold events, just fishing events. And on an offhand comment in the fish court, I was like, hey, you know, an enterprising FC could use private rooms to show off all the fish, because the fish tank limit, you can only have 6 in a small aquarium, 6 in a small house, 8 and 10 for a medium and a large, 4 in private rooms and apartments. I was like, you know, somebody could do this. And everyone was like, okay, I'm making alts for it already. That's a great idea. And I'm like,
Immediately on board.
but I don't know if I want to do it. You're doing this right now. You are now
You know,
our lead.
theoretically, we could maybe somebody, not us, could and go.
It was before I could finish. It was like, I'm already making alts on Malboro. And within 3 hours, we probably had at least 10 or 15 people who were like, yeah, let's go do it. And then soon after that, we had the house, which was donated to us by this housing community called Little Sun Housing Community, based on Crystal. And it is their goal to get these houses from people who don't use them and then give them to people who do.
That's so great.
That's awesome. Yeah.
So they have all these houses, and they're like, yeah, do you want a medium? Like they give me a menu. They want like, oh, you want one? Okay, so I could do one in the Imperium, but we have the small and lavender beds. And I was like, hold on a second. This was like hours, like within hours of this happening. And I'm still like trying to wrangle out like, okay, cool. We're making an aquarium now. What's this going to be? And I went to the plot and I'm like, okay, it's an island next to a waterfall. You can fish off of it. Perfect. Done. Take it. And it was in a starting area too, so anybody could just show up. You could have an alt, you could run down. It wasn't like the Imperium where we needed to set up, or Shirogane, where we needed to set up like a teleport or a taxi of some sort. You just show up in Gridania and just run. And we told people, you can make an alt and just run down. You don't have to level. So anyways, that was April 3rd or something like that. We got started, and then May 1st, we opened kind of impromptu. We were actually shooting for May 13th, 14th-ish. But I made a tweet because I was kind of being coy with it. I didn't have a ton of followers at the time. I maybe had like 100 followers on Twitter. Wasn't like a massive amount. So I was being kind of like coy and like, ha, tee, funny. I didn't want to spoil it. But I posted a picture of the private room menu. Saying, hey, have you ever seen a fish or a house full of fish? Every fish? And it just took off. That tweet just was straight into the stratosphere. And I'm like, okay, we need to ride this. And so I threw together the trailer that I based off of Ammonesius Ander and Anadurs, and posted to Twitter. And I was like, all right, introducing the Eorzean Aquarium, 21 rooms, every fish in the game. Here's the address, come visit. And we were thinking maybe we'd get like, we knew it was something special. We knew it was unique. And we're like, maybe 50 people will show up. And then we'll have a nice quiet night and we'll go on and we'll just do stuff with it. We got 50 instantly.
Wow.
500 in the first 8 hours. And by my estimates, we were at about 1,000 visitors through the entire thing within the first 24.
Wow.
We went from 0 to like 9,000 likes in the book in 12 hours.
Wow.
That's nuts.
And this is when we started learning some things. Like, there's a cap on the number of messages you can have in a book.
Oh.
We found that out in about 30 minutes. And stuff like people are willing to give you money just because you own this. And they're like, this is great. Can I make a donation? What? Oh, yeah, sure, cool. And they're like, I'm thinking like 10 grand. No, here's $1 million. So like, take some money. And so it was me and another guy and a few other people kind of funded it. The whole aquarium cost like maybe 15 million, like in total. I was planning to fund it all myself. But other people were like, yeah, I'll throw in some money. 15 million. And we made that back in 3 hours.
Wow.
Wow.
We were, and it just kept going. Like, I would wake up the next day and there would still be 20 people just hanging out in the lobby. And if there's 20 people in the lobby, there's at least 5 times that in the rooms.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh crap, okay, I guess we've done something special. And people were asking for like, do you have a gift shop? Do you have a touch tank?
I love the gift shop. It's so cute.
It's so great.
So the gift shop, so we added that. I should add. We launched with 21 rooms, and then the guy who was going to make the 22nd room was like, I was like, no, let's just wait until like this week you can do it. And then we were like, oh crap, there's a ton of people here. Yeah, go ahead and make it. Go ahead and make it. We spun out a new room We announced it in the lobby, which was a mistake because immediately everybody went to this room. And have you ever seen like 30 people in a private room before? I have. It's crowded. The crowd noise comes up, and you should never hear that in a private room.
Wow.
So that week we were like, all right, let's take stock of what's going on. One guy like counting how many likes we were getting, and he each day was like, every morning it's like, all right, here's how many likes we got the previous day, doing all this data. He had like 25,000 likes in like maybe the first day or two or something like that.
Whoa. Between
the whole thing, across all the rooms. It was like an average of 500 per room or something. The highest was like $3,000. We started building the touch tank, which we launched the following week. Somebody made an alt named the Eorzean Aquarium, which miraculously was not stolen.
Yeah.
And started crafting stuff to put in the gift shop. So that when so it has the label of Eorzean Aquarium when you buy it. And set up all the retainers. And we set that up, and then we did some final touches on stuff. We got uniforms, and we added like the little crest. That one mechanic in the game that no one ever uses, we used it. So we have like all the uniforms if they're in the FC at least, because we have some people who volunteer but aren't in the FC. And so they all get the crest. We all have like the same like South Sea pants, like calfskin shoes, and survival shirt with the little fish logo on it. And everyone was like, "That's so great! This is so cute!" Like that next weekend, we had like another few hundred people. We had another wave. The tweet hit like 8,000 likes, 4,000 retweets. 500,000 people saw all this stuff, and we're just kind of sitting here like at the end of Avengers in like a shawarma shop going, what the hell just happened?
Yeah.
And we didn't need a billboard.
Yeah, who knew?
Oh my gosh. The deep cut.
But yeah, so that's kind of how it got started. And then we were just like, all right, cool, let's start our first event. And then we did an event, and we launched new rooms, and we did more events. And it still blows my mind that was only 2 months ago.
Right.
That's pretty
Because
crazy.
it feels like it's been like 6.
Yeah. I mean, that's incredible. I mean, it just goes to show that so many people wanted something like this, and that the social and community aspects of 14 are so popular. I mean, when you think about how the community likes to come together to see things, to celebrate parts of the game, or even just to spend their time uniquely while they're logged in, I mean, this is just such a huge testament to that. Getting it all set up sounds like it was kind of a wild ride that just went super fast and everything just sort of started happening, but
28 days.
gosh,
You might say you
Literally
just
28 days later.
rode the wave.
rode the wave.
Yeah.
You rode the wave.
Good one.
But what were some of the challenges that you've found as you've continued to grow or expand, and as this has sort of become something which, you know, maybe you didn't even realize the full scope when you started of what exactly that would be?
There's a lot of stuff. I think a lot of it was conveying of information. We had a lot of people asking questions about like, what are these fish? Well, they're in the message book. We needed to like be able to say like, hey, the fish is in the message book. Like we list in the like the word from the creator, fish. And so it was a lot of communication challenges because people would come in and be like, is this it? Did you go to the private rooms? And then they run over and go, oh.
Ooh, that's missing a lot.
yeah. Some of the other, like, you would think like getting the fish would be the challenge, but like I said, like we had them all already. Like even the rare ones. In the fish court, I was like, hey, here's the fish we need. And then I would just start listing it out and be like, I got you. Like, I got it. I got 3. Don't worry about it. And so like the challenges ended up being those little things, like just communicating, working within housing limits, trying to convey the feelings that we wanted to get, especially with the touch tank. There is no, like, you cannot have anybody outside the owner of the room interact with any object, despite if it's interactable or not. So we were like, how are we going to design a touch tank that encourages people to interact without them actually interacting? And that's kind of the design we ended up with, the one that you see there, with like the really low pond that people can actually go ahead and jump in. It's a virtual aquarium. We don't care. You can go jump and play dead in the pond.
Not recommended for non.
Yeah, please don't do that.
Not in real life.
In a real aquarium. But like fake aquariums, like, yeah, go right on ahead. We can do that. And that was kind of the other thing of like finding a balance between a real life aquarium. We want to replicate that feeling, and we have, as far as we can tell. But also making it feel like something that fits in Eorzea, something that would actually fit in the game, something that the Nature Society of Charlian would fund. Really something that is that realistic feeling there that you could have and join and be a part of. So that's been the big challenge, is really kind of the creative aspects of it.
I think, you know, working with what was available to you, like using the guest book as like a placard to display information, I thought that was really clever. Like, I would have never thought to use
it. we had a secondary idea with that, and we ended up shoving the idea because logistically it became a headache. Was we were actually going to lock the message book and then write in the comments as ourselves more information about the fish. And so you would have multiple pages you could flip through and be like, all right, here's all the fish. And then like the first top comment would be like, oh, this fish is native to Lenosha and likes to eat lalafell. Like those types of things. We decided not to do that because it was a bit of a pain to put together. And people really just wanted to leave their comments on the rooms. And I really wanted the creators of each of those rooms to be able to get that moment to shine with people. And so we decided to pull that away. We just left it in the thing, and then we set up a card, and we just put all that information in the card.
I also really like all of the fish portraits in each room. That really makes it feel very aquarium-like too, because you know they have those giant placards that have all the information.
Yeah.
And even though you can't put the information on there, the picture really, I think, fills it in visually anyhow.
There's a lot of, like, any fish can be put onto a print, even if it can be put into an aquarium. Even some minions, which was kind of fun to learn. Certain minions that you can fish up that are directly fished up, such as like the Castaway Chocobo chick or the Magic Bucket. You can put them onto fish prints. And the Castaway Chocobo chick's print is just like you put on this baby chocobo, you put ink on its feet and just let it run across the frame.
That's cute.
And then the magic bucket, bucket, you're like, how do you do the magic bucket? You just you flip the bucket upside down, put it into ink, put it onto the frame, and you just get a circle.
I love that so much. That's so cute.
Yeah, so we actually use that to our advantage in the shark room. Talking more about like conveying information, one of the things being my master's degree is in instructional design. I work in education, online education. And one of the things that I really want to do with this aquarium is start teaching not only about video game fish, but eventually start tying that into, you know, there's a lot of parallels between the video game fish and real fish, and here's what's going on with the real fish. And start talking about that a bit more. And so with the shark room, we kind of did something like that too, where we showed like, here's like a funnel shark, and underneath it is, here's some stuff that it eats. And we found a balance between like real life basking sharks. Like, what do they eat? They're generally filter feeders. They just open their mouth and whatever comes in, they eat. Funnel sharks are very similar, except the lore called out that they actually found a chocobo saddle in one of them, so that's why we have the chocobo chick print underneath giant funnel shark. So bringing in some of that education stuff is kind of the next challenge too, is how do we convey this information of education in a way that makes sense in the aquarium, in game, with the housing items under 100 housing slots.
Right.
I really liked the map that you had in that room. It took me a
Yes.
second. I was like, what are the chess pieces up here? And then I look and that same color is on the map. And I'm like, I instantly understand.
Yeah, that one, we did that in the Thavnair in the touch tank room too, where if you look on the sides, we have maps on the walls, and the pins for where all the small prints are, that's where those fish are actually from.
That's incredible.
That
I'm
is-
gonna have to
that's
go back and look
really
at that
cool.
again.
It's one of those details that you look at and only certain people are going to notice, and we're okay with that.
Yeah.
Like I was already blown away by a lot, like the stack of towels in the touch tank room. Like it's such a small
And the sink.
thing.
The sink, you gotta
Yeah.
have a sink.
Yeah, it's just those, but I mean the fact that there's even more, like, oh my gosh, that's
Yeah.
crazy. I love it. I love it.
We put a lot of details into a lot of these rooms, like the new ocean fish, not the new ocean fishing room. The first room, I just redid one of my rooms, which was the first Lenocean room. And beforehand, it was like, you're in a building, there's a stone pathway. And then I was like, okay, cool. They've added these log pillars, so now I can pull off the under the boardwalk feel that I wanted. And putting that like under the boardwalk feel. So that's kind of like the details now that we're adding in, is this level of immersion of you can actually kind of feel like you're now with the fish.
Yeah, and I wanted to ask about that too, because I mean, obviously, there's 24 different rooms, right, done by a lot of different people and on their alts. How does like the design of the room work? Like, obviously, a lot of it, right? You kind of have like a template. Like, here's kind of where the tanks are gonna go, but then is a lot of that just up to the other player on how they want to kind of design it?
Yeah, I didn't. Partially because it would have been way too time consuming, and partially because I really wanted the owners of the room to feel like they owned the room.
Sure.
We had a base template. So you'll notice like a lot of the rooms are like the channel feel, where they have the 4 tanks on each side, or 2 on each side, and they're all kind of the same thing. We had that base template built. And I was like, everyone, you got to build that base template, and then you can build off of that however you want. You can modify it, change it, just as long as it's in that rough shape. And so that was basically how I told everyone. I was like, as long as you do this, as long as there's a message book, you have the names in it, and the room is set to public, and your greeting says like fish of whatever region you're in, go hog wild on whatever you want to do. And I think that was a really big like key part of its, I want to say like success in a way, is that I really just let people go and do what they wanted.
Yeah.
You wanted to add Moogles into your fish tank because we didn't have any fish to put in the tank and didn't want to duplicate. Okay, that makes sense because you're in like the sea of clouds and the churning mists. There's a lot of like little details too. I know the saltwater Norvran room was based on all of Amarat. So there's like little details in there too that we've kind of left with like the style and the design. And Costa del Sol,
Nautilus.
Yeah.
The third room is one of like is a Lenocean room, and it was recently renovated. Like, what do you want to do? We'll do Costa del Sol. So they remade it to look like Costa del Sol, and at the back there's basically the bar that you see when you jump into Costa del Sol, and you kind of walk forward, you see like this like sign with like the fish and all that stuff. We tried to replicate that as much as we could. So
yeah, it was
and
really
the music
cool going.
And the music too. Music is the other thing.
Yeah,
it's so cool going between the rooms, and it's just such a difference, right? I think my favorite one was probably I think it's like the Dravanian Hinterlands room, where it's all like the Alexander theme, like steampunk, the pipes and the steam.
Yeah, the goblet.
And the goblet, like it's so cool. Like I love how themed they are. Like
Yeah,
everybody
that
did such a
one-
great job on those.
That one was actually done the day before, or the 2 days before maintenance. We came up and we were like, the owner of the room hosts this weekly event, and I was there, and I was like, he was like, oh, I kind of want to. They were thinking like, I just want to change the room up a little bit beforehand. I was like, oh, you're Dravania. Oh, what if we did like an aquarium inside of Alexander? And they're just like, you could feel their eyes just go, oh yeah. And then that's where we went. So after we finished the event, went straight back to the aquarium, and we were like, all right, what do you need?
That's great.
And we kind of with like the idea of like, oh, just the goblins made it. And that's why it's a little wonky in some places, and like that's why they're all over and all that stuff.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, we talked about some of the finer details, but I mean, some of the more obvious ones are really cool too. The ocean fishing rooms with the spectral fish. You've got the projector
auroras.
of the auroras behind it because spectral fish. It's just, I love
one of the little ones that no one picks up on. A handful of people pick up on. In the Sea of Clouds room, in one of those rooms, sitting on the table next to the message book is a sandwich.
I noticed that.
I saw the sandwich.
Do you know what the name of the sandwich is?
I know. I guess not.
The Bismarck.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh my
Yep,
god.
that's right. Yep.
So it's like, we can't get Bismarck in here, so we'll just put the sandwich in.
Hilarious.
Perfection.
Me and my wife, we went through and looked at all this stuff, and we're like, why is there just like a sandwich there? All right, didn't even think about it. But we saw the sandwich, but now that's
generally what a lot of people get, and they'll look it up later, and they'll be like, oh.
I think
really
my favorite room was probably it's the second one because it's all
Sasasha room.
Yeah,
Sasasha
piratey. I don't know if you guys know this, but I'm really into Limsa Laminsa and
Really?
that whole.
Are you?
I don't think that's ever come up before.
Wow.
Yeah. No, but that I thought
that's
that
where
room
all
was
my ults
spectacular.
start now, because
Yeah.
like if I make an alt, it's Limsa. Go, oh, Fruity, we need you to make an alt for this. Okay, let's go do that. And it starts in Limsa because in 30 minutes I can start fishing.
Now, obviously,
I love.
Oh,
Oh,
go ahead.
go ahead.
No,
Oh
go ahead.
no. I was just
Okay,
gonna
I'm gonna
say-
go. Just kidding.
I was just going to say that you've seen traffic. You mentioned even the traffic that you saw when it first opened up and everything else. But recently as well, the Namazu event that you did that we were talking about earlier, which was kind of an incentive for people to come and do this little scavenger hunt around the aquarium now that DC travel has opened up. So have you found that DC travel has like affected the visitors, the amount of people that are coming? Has it been like a big thing with everybody being able to finally make it if they were on different DCs?
We haven't had a quiet moment yet. It's like maybe twice since DC travel opened have I gone into the aquarium and had nobody there. And it's usually at like when I'm up early right before work at like 7 a.m.
But in the morning, yeah.
But like way in the morning. And as soon as it opened up though, because I knew like, DC travel was coming out, I was going to put out like a new tweet announcement saying, hey, reintroducing it, because we renovated the entirety of the inside. Like the lobby and the basement were basement less so, but like generally everything was just completely overhauled. Redid the entire style of that area, made it brighter, bigger, taller feeling. And then we had like 20% of like 25% of the exhibits were renovated in like the weeks leading up to DC travel. So I was like, well, I got to announce all this. And so we did, and took it right back off again. And I'm sitting like at work getting like a Slack message from the staff going, oh, there's like 50 people outside. I'm just like, yeah, crap, here we go again. And it just hasn't stopped again.
I will mention just in passing, that is actually how the show started, because when I saw it, I am also in that Slack organization, and I was like, wait a second, you are the person who did it?
Yeah.
We have to.
I learned you're not the first person to have that happen. It's actually been interesting how the aquarium has connected people. Some of the staff live like an hour away from me.
Nice.
We learned. Someone from the staff's fiance also works at our organization.
Yeah.
And so he's like, I'm mentioning it's like, hey, I did something over the weekend. He goes, oh, you're Fruity Snack. My fiance has been like raving about the aquarium.
I absolutely love that kind of small world stuff. Like,
Yeah.
it's so good.
And it's just been like the DC travel. I know it's going to taper off, and I'm not saying this to encourage people to not show up, but I'm also looking for the day for when it's finally quiet. So we can kind of just like chill out and do something else.
Right.
Kind of focus on stuff, because we have plans for the North American Eorzean Aquarium planned out until November. We have an event every month until November planned out.
That segues directly into the next question, which was,
I know, you're welcome.
which was me trying to get any
knew.
scoop we could. Like, it's such a great, it's just such a great community moment, and I know that you're constantly looking at ways to expand it. So what's coming up for the aquarium?
Okay, so a lot.
Yeah.
In the short term, I'm not going to say exactly what, because I'm not going to say, because it's actually not for us to announce. But we are doing stuff with LunarCon.
Oh, cool.
And at
Okay.
LunarCon. So we will be at LunarCon, and there will be some stuff that we're doing for LunarCon. But I will let those be announced when they come out. So be on the lookout for that, because that's going to be actually really fun. And something I will tease it in saying that it is something that a lot of people have asked for. So we will be getting that.
Oh, nice.
And like I said, new events. So we have, let's see, we'll have an event in August for Moonfire Fair. Most likely, and that's already planning. We're already currently planning that to be like our largest event yet in terms of just square footage.
Okay.
And then September we'll have another event that's going to be a little chill, but it's going to be more geared towards newer fishers. And then October I'm really excited for, because it was the first event that I've actually planned before the aquarium even launched. I knew that come October, we were going to have an event called All Tanks Wake, and it was going to be Halloween themed, and we have the perfect idea for it. And it's going to be amazing when it comes out. And I'm hoping to work with a couple of other people on it to make it just that much better.
Yeah.
But it'll be similar but different to the Namazu event, if you want a little bit of a hint. It's going to be a bit more less looking. It's going to be some looking and a lot more thinking in this case. So that one I'm really, really excited for that one. And then November and December, we'll get to those later.
Yeah.
But we'll probably have something going on through the rest of the year. And that's just North America.
Yeah.
We're not done yet. I'm happy to say it's not like exclusive, but I haven't really said it on this scale before. I am happy to say that we are building a full-fledged Eorzean Aquarium on Spriggan on the EU servers. That's about 50% of the way done.
Awesome.
Wow.
And we just won the lotto for a house on Sophia on Materia. And so we'll actually have a smaller venue that we're going to be calling a Discovery Center, which will be like maybe 5 or 6 exhibits. It'll be kind of like a demo of the aquarium. And we will have that going on in Sophia with the intention of it becoming a full-fledged aquarium as well.
Wow.
If somebody has a spare house on Tonberry, let me know.
You heard it here.
So like, and then on top of that, like we're talking tours.
Yeah.
I kind of just started prototyping out one of those to some coworkers last night. And we're planning that. Like, a lot of people have come in and they're like, I don't really fish, but I love giving tours. And I'm like, okay, we're doing tours. A lot of people have asked for those. So we'll probably set up a system for tours. And we're going to be setting up a system for if you want to have like a large group come and you'd like to request some staff on hand. We'll be setting up a system for that to request as well, because we've gotten like 3 in the past week.
Wow.
Just to come in, and they're usually just heads up. Like, it's not like, hey, can you do this for us? It'll be like, hey, I'm bringing 20 people. Is that okay?
Right.
Yeah, sure. I don't care. But thank you for the heads up. I appreciate that. And then all the events that we're talking about, we're also hopefully going to be doing that on Europe and Oceania as well. So like, we're just taking this, and as I called the moment when I looked at like the staff on our Discord, like the staff roll, and it was like, when did we get 60 people? And we just called that the oopsie, we got bigger moment.
Wow.
And yeah, and like on top of that, like we have an RP bar that's open every Saturday to support people who want to do RP. So many other things going on.
Right.
Like we're doing stuff with some musicians.
Nice.
That will be in a few months. And
I'm being told by Out of Many that there are puns in the menu for the bar, so check that out.
Yes. The fish puns run abound. And then on top of all of that, we're currently planning 2.5, with that half one being one that I actually haven't told the staff yet because it's mine and it's private and I'm still figuring it out. New museums that aren't aquariums but are similar in style. So I will say that we do have the big one is what we're calling Project Gem, and it is the Grand Eorzean Museum of Fine Art.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
Okay.
Which is currently bigger than all of the other aquariums, because there's a lot of art in this game and not all of it's cataloged.
Yeah.
So basically what I'm trying to say is I am maybe about a year out from world domination of just museums.
Seems like it. My gosh, all right.
Are you
Please
gonna
look forward to it.
Yeah, are you gonna put together like some name like the Smithsonian to just cover all of
so yes.
Yes.
Right now it's the Eorzean Museum Network.
Okay.
And there'll be network subsets under
Is
that.
that
All the
Albino?
aquariums, all the aquariums will be part of the Eorzean Aquarium Network. And then if the Fine Art Museum and some of the other ones get branches, then they'll get their own as well. But yeah, no, I have recognized that there's a desire, even outside of the aquarium, for more general venues. And I really love making these. A lot of the people who are working on the aquarium are really psyched to do that. And so I'm hoping that we'll be able to deliver even more than just fish.
That's crazy. I love it. It's
really cool.
We talk all the time about housing and how we'd love to see instance housing and stuff, and not a lot of people make use of like the neighborhood stuff. But I think something like this, especially with a publicly accessible FC house with these rooms, it's such a great example of what you can do with the system that is in the game right now. Because I mean, thinking, back when they designed this housing stuff, Yoshida was like, yeah, we should make it so like people could make an aquarium.
We did find out that Square Enix is aware of the aquarium. I was like the big shining moment yesterday when someone was like, I know that. Like, but like the big goal with the aquarium and all of these venues is to be a public resource. Like that is at the core of it all. They're all not for profit. All the money that we get donated doesn't go to me. It doesn't go to any of the volunteers. It stays in our FC chest, and then we give it back to people who need it, like the new fishers. We're setting up like a new fisher fund. So if you're under, say, like level 70 or something, we don't have the details yet, but we're going to be like, all right, 15 million gil. If you like show up at the aquarium and say, hey, I'm trying to fish, I need some new gear, or I need this bait, we will get it to you for free. No questions asked. And so we're really trying to turn all these things into public resources to better the community. Like the Oceania Aquarium is really leaning into, with its design, it's leaning into like the Great Barrier Reef and the stuff that makes up the APAC region, that defines that, as a way to really build up and give a sense of ownership to that community, to then help that community grow, because it's new, it's fledgling, people are still moving in. So they're really hoping to use that aquarium as a rock for people to come in and say, hey, Final Fantasy is a good game and this server is great, or this DC is great, you should come join. And that's it. I mean, that's kind of the whole goal, is just we do this because we love doing it and we want to give back to people.
Oh, here's an important comment or question here in the chat. Is there an official mascot?
Ooh.
Official mascot, no. Unofficial, it's going to be a toss-up between Warden of the Seven Hues, the cup fish named Fred, and Pog Shark.
Great choices there. 3 solid choices.
Maybe we should have a vote. Maybe we'll do a vote.
Go.
I'll put a vote up on Twitter and see which one is actually.
Do like an art contest. Get people to design it for you.
Yeah. So
we like to enable.
Yeah, there's a lot going on, and the biggest challenge right now is keeping it in scope and not getting people burned out.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like, as soon as you burn out, you ruin it. And I'm like, there are times when I've looked at people and be like, go do something else for like a week.
Yeah.
Including myself. I have been told that multiple times.
It's like the aquarium's great, but what if we did like one for fine arts? Maybe take a break. Yeah,
Come
but
back
like there's
to it,
also
get
like
over.
plants that you could grow. We could do like just like a bunch of like
botanical garden.
Yeah.
That was discussed.
Yeah.
That would probably fit into a natural history museum, which is the secret one that I haven't revealed the plans to the staff yet. I have it kind of already scratched out, like this is what the rooms would be.
Oh my gosh.
Man.
So
Awesome.
it's just been fun. I just enjoy. Apparently, I enjoy making museums and aquariums. So
you have a real talent for it, and so does everybody else that's been a part of this and supporting it. I mean, it's incredible to hear, because in these situations that like you need people that are pushing this forward. You need people that have these incredible ideas and the background and education that you have, which I think has really taken this to the next level. But you also then need those people that just make it happen, that, are there, and the volunteers and everybody that's contributing and donating fish in the fish cord, like you were saying, or showing up or offering things like these tours. So it is definitely something where I think a lot of times in the community, we can get into our own little pockets, or we think that, one person achieves these things. But to see how when we all come together as a community and we all, agree to try and do something we are excited about and passionate about, and have people that are really pushing that forward, there is so much that can be done in this game and worldwide. It's incredible. It's incredible.
I am continually amazed at the stuff that I see now. Like, now that the aquarium has been built, I'm having people come to me and saying, hey, I made this. Like, there is actually a fish museum and history museum on Chaos on Louiswa. It is amazing. And we're going to be highlighting those soon. The Japanese data centers have a bunch of, not like they're aquariums, but they're not like our aquarium where it's every fish, but they're what we would kind of call like designer aquariums. And they're also equally as cool. The one on Fenrir is named Aquarium Gratis. And if you can get to Fenrir and get into Shirogane, it's amazing to go look at. And there's a guy who does like open bard nights, and he has a large house that's set up for people to just come in and show off their bard skills if you want to do it with a macro or MIDI or by hand. And so there's a lot of stuff there, and I'm hoping that with the aquarium moving forward, a lot of them also get to be moved forward as well, because it's not all 18 plus lounges and bars and casinos.
Right. Exactly.
So
Awesome.
yeah.
And again, if you want to check out the Eorzean Aquarium, that's Crystal Data Center, Malboro, Lavender Beds, Ward 16, Plot 59, 24 rooms, 180 fish, and some hidden Namazu. If you want to
That's a lot of fish.
take a look while you're in those rooms.
I did not hit in Namazu. Your front desk guy is a Namazu, and his vision follows you as you move around.
Yeah. that actually came with the event.
Okay.
But yeah, the Namazu, I will tease that one of the future exhibits will actually corral all of the Namazu.
Oh,
Ooh.
nice.
I can't wait.
I love it. I love it. Fruity, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
I
Coming up with almost 3 hours of fishing now.
This has been, it's like when I joked when we had ocean fishing introduced into the game. I'm like, if you had told me I would have spent so much time ocean fishing of all things in this game, I wouldn't have believed you. I have had so much fun with this discussion. I have learned things I never even knew about. We aren't going 8 hours. I would love we could. I have no doubt that
We're not
could.
going 8 hours yet, but
Yes.
look forward to maybe if we can have you on again. I would love to talk
Would
more
love to be
about
back
fishing
on.
and lore and everything
Yeah.
else.
I would love to do a lorecast just based around stuff on fish. Or like even theories that people have. And then I can come in and be like, yeah, the fish already answered that, like back in Heaven's Ward.
all these long
And-
life questions.
And the new
No, the fish
museums are
answered
open
these.
too.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Was there anything else that you wanted to mention here? Anything you want to plug?
If anyone does, if you swing by the aquarium, you're like, man, I really want to help out, just hit me up on like Discord. I'm in the Fish Cord, or I'm in the Eorzean Aquarium Discord. Or you can tweet me on Fisher at Fisher Fruity. That my DMs are open. So if you want to help out, let me know. Like I don't think I've ever said no to a volunteer because I totally can use more bodies.
Yeah.
To help out and do more. And if you think that there's something cool that you want to do, that the Eorzean Aquarium can be a bed for that, also let me know. I would be happy to help kind of support those.
Awesome. All right. That's going to do it for us this week. Again, thank you so much for joining us. We're definitely going to have to follow up once some of the other stuff happens. It's awesome. I love it. I love everything about this. If you want, you can find me on all the social medias at Ralfldrg, ROFLDRG. Zen, where can they find you?
Okay, so my Twitter is Anidra_aim. My Twitch is Strawberry Buff. Or Charles and I do D&D podcast called Plus One Shot Plus the word.
One the number, shot the word. Yep.
And then all of that goes over to YouTube. Listen.
We just
Hey,
we
you
know.
can't put a plus sign.
We know.
It's HTML. You can't have a plus sign.
It's catchy. We all know now.
Man,
When I
designed the logo and I was like, I'm gonna go with the plus sign. It'll be great. And then afterwards I was like, I screwed myself. You cannot use that symbol anywhere.
Right.
Just breaks things.
Yep.
Aldino, where can people find you on the World Wide Web?
Here and only here. Also Twitter, at Aldino. I will use it one of these days. It'll happen. OnlyFans, still working on that. Once again, there was a lot of legal trouble, and then I've just been doing other stuff recently. I haven't cycled back to it, so sorry about that.
I mean, there's a lot of effort into taking pictures of your feet. People don't realize it. They think you can just aim the camera down and that's it. There's a lot. You got to get the lighting right. You got to get the atmosphere. I mean,
I don't remember when I told you what the content was.
You should come join me. You should come join me on OnlyFans.
OnlyFans.
Oh, I might take you up on that one.
I thought we were done.
No.
Managed to get one more in there.
Yeah, to get one more shot in.
When he said he was looking for bodies, I was like, of water?
Even though there's been a lot of puns today, I really do feel like this podcast has been a net gain.
Yes.
Yeah. So
This silence
that's-
is because I can't hold in how much joy I'm feeling.
okay. I thought that was also gonna be a pun. I'm just gonna let it go for me.
No,
Rogue.
What did you mean, reel in? How much joy?
All right. I don't have to do this often, but
We've just
Well,
had,
go ahead,
we've
say
just had an
some.
ocean's worth of puns today. I'm not that proud
My-
of that one, but I
My
had to.
my favorite fish pun actually comes from Guild Wars 2.
yeah.
It is why did all the fishers leave their jobs?
Why is that?
They didn't have any net income.
Oh.
That's like the item for like it's like the fishing net item or something like that in the game. I hate it, but I love it.
Rook, where can people find you when you're not here?
Yes, you can find me on Twitch at Rookery, Rookuri. You can find me on YouTube as well at Rookery, and Twitter at Rookery_. You can also find me on Instagram at Rookery, although I don't keep up with that one quite as much. And I would be remiss if I didn't say here at the end, so long and thanks for all the fish.
Yes. Correct. Perfect.
Not gonna say anything.
Thank
Anything
everyone.
on that.
I will see myself out. I will see myself out.
Oh my. All right.
This is the tail end of the podcast.
Jeez.
Hey, you guys, you know what we buy stuff in game with?
Money.
Gills.
Gills.
Money. If you want to
And I don't know why you
email-
wouldn't.
You end this quick.
If you want to email us, you can email us aetheryteradio@gamerscape.com. You can tweet at us at aetheryteradio. You know what? Why not? Tweet fish puns at us.
That's
Why
fine.
not? Why
I want that so badly.
Not.
Cast fish puns at you.
Oh.
Oh.
And of course, you can find us as Gamer Escape on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, and Discord. Discord.gg/Gamerscape. We have an Aetheryte radio channel on there. You can talk to us about the show. And that's it. That's gonna do it. We're just gonna stop this before more find their way
Yeah.
in here.
We've sank to a new low.
Oh jeez. Everybody got it out of their system. Are we
No.
Rudy,
Just stop.
thank you so much for letting us mooch so much of your time today.
Oh, jeez.
Dear.
Oh, I was happy to
Blub,
chum.
everybody. Blub, blub.
Oh my gosh. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have a great rest of your weekend, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.